Stand by. The program will begin soon.
When I see an American flag, I immediately look at that I'm like, that person's probably a bigot. That person's probably a homophobe. That person's probably a racist if they're just flying American flags out everywhere.
Hold up.
Hey, this sounds more like a you problem. You should probably go see somebody about that.
We got over $5 million per year from the American taxpayers, being given no-bid contracts from Maine Governor Janet Mills, and is building a military in Somalia. He has been funneling money back to Somalia to build a military in Somalia. The guy is running a migrant services agency that builds Maine Care, which is what we call Medicaid, about $5 million a year. Oh no, those illegal immigrants are getting any Medicare. And then he said he raised money in the U.S. to buy weapons, munitions, and supplies for a paramilitary force he had hoped to lead as the president of Jubaland. Yes, that's a real state in Somalia. And to be clear, in Somalia, he's running to be the warlord of Jubaland. Elections in Jubaland aren't exactly like elections in America. It's whoever has the most guns is able to certify the election. So he needed to buy a paramilitary organization and paramilitary support in order to win the election. Avocados Diablias asked if you could bring any one comic strip character to life and train them to be a hitman, who would you choose? Oh, that's the easiest question ever. Calvin. Calvin. Oh, look, Somnambule Nation, you and I are on the same page. Calvin. From Calvin and Hobbes. Yes. And by God, Calvin would be the greatest hitman to ever live. Better than John Wick. I guarantee it. I didn't have to think of it.
Stand by. The program will begin soon.
Yes, it's true. The Obama administration deported over 3 million people, and the Biden administration, over 4 million people. But they didn't need troops. They didn't need military in the streets to do it. Tell me why. Put it in the chat. Tell me why you think that's that.
Because when Obama and Biden were in office, there were no riots in the streets of Los Angeles, even though 80% of the deportations were also expedited with no hearing. But you didn't give a shit then. Now that Trump's in office, you suddenly give a shit. Hope that helps.
That turkey was amazing. Mostly because I cooked it, because I'm really good at cooking turkey. So one of my tricks that new tricks that I do, you know how when you cook a turkey in a pan, even if you got one of those raised pans, it always happens. You cook this turkey and the breast of the turkey get all nice, the top gets all nice and brown, and then you go to cut the underside and the thighs and legs are like all white underneath and not even done. Well, there's a trick you can do to avoid that. What you do is you cook the bird upside down for at least 1/3 of the cooking time. So you end up browning the bottom and sealing that first, even more so. And the other thing I do is I start my oven at 500 degrees. The first 45 minutes to an hour, you put it at 500 degrees, and then you turn it down to 325 and do the rest of the cooking. But anyway, do it upside down, and 1/3 of the way through, then you flip the bird back over in the pan, and the entire bird gets finished at the same time. So apparently, in Europe, you can refer to Americans as pigs. but not convicted rapists. A German court gives woman harsher punishment than convicted. I hate it when people say rapist. I'll just say unwanted sexual activity peoples for calling him a disgraceful pig. She called someone convicted of that crime a disgraceful pig and got a harsher punishment than the person who actually committed unwanted sexual activity. And so that's why people were posting that story about the German court gives women harsher punishment than convicted unwanted sexual activity.
Stand by. The program will begin soon.
There's a story about this man too. He led the attack on Pearl Harbor but died a Christian missionary on December 7, 1941. Captain Mitsuo Fuchida flew the lead plane against Pearl Harbor, shouting the famous code, Tora, Tora, Tora. He hated America. But after the war, he met a former American POW, Jacob DeSager, who had returned to Japan not to punish him, but to preach the gospel. Shocked by this forgiveness, Fuchida bought a Bible. He converted to Christianity in 1950. The man who started the Pacific War spent the rest of his life touring the U.S. and Japan preaching, quote, I was a follower of the sword. Now I'm a follower of the cross. Amazing. Nearly 5 years after pipe bombs were discovered outside the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee and the Republican National Committee in Washington, D.C., a suspect has been arrested in the case. On Thursday, federal agents arrested Brian Cole Jr., 30 of Woodbridge, Virginia, and he was charged with transportation of explosive devices, blah, 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 blah. But on Friday, legacy media outlets began reporting that Cole, this young black man right here, was a Trump supporter. And I'm not saying he's not because he's black. I'm just saying there's other evidence that might support the fact that he's not a Trump supporter. But we'll get to that. Quote, Brian Cole worked for a bail bonds company run by his father that worked to free illegal immigrants from ICE facilities and sued the Trump administration's Department of Homeland Security. He worked for his dad. They tried to free illegal immigrants. Interesting. Yes, I know every Trump supporter, every black supporter, Trump supporter, would be quick to hire Benjamin Crump, who represented the family of Trayvon Martin, attempting to stick the Biden administration Department of Justice on a local Tennessee prosecutor who had raised concerns about the bail bond companies. We'll find out eventually that this guy had nothing to do.
Additionally, if you open this up to ice fishing, while on the surface it sounds good, then what happens next year? Does someone come back and say, I want an ice shanty on Hudson Springs Park for X amount of time? And if you then allow ice fishing with shanties, then that leads to another problem. Prostitution. And now you've got the police chief and the police department involved. Just data points to consider.
It is Happy Bill of Rights Day on December 1791. The Commonwealth of Virginia ratified the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. George Mason and James Madison were the driving forces behind these guarantees of individual rights. And note that all the individual rights that are in the Bill of Rights are not rights granted by the government. Those are the inalienable rights which the government shall not infringe. And if you notice, it's interesting because the Bill of Rights is all about what the government cannot do, not what the government can do. And I think kind of got away from that a little bit, where some people seem to think that the government is going to grant you rights. No, these are rights you have, whether there's a government or not, and the rights that the government must protect for you. So it was a unique thing when it came about in 1791. that government is not there to grant you or give you privileges, but rather to protect the rights that you have.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only Dawg Knight.
Oh, it'd be a good idea to turn the mic on. Okay, here we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet, and welcome back to the Dawg Knight Channel. I missed yesterday. I woke up late and I just didn't feel like doing a show. I'm sorry. There's going to be days like that over the next week or so. Hopefully that whole feeling will subside and I'll stop being a pussy, right? But that's the way it was. I didn't feel like it. And so case closed. I didn't. And, is what it is. I'm managing pain well, but I'm not managing time and sleep well. And also plus my leg was swollen up yesterday for a while. I got up and I just didn't feel like doing it. So is what it is. I'm going to heal the way I want to heal. Lots of controversy still. My friend Hotep Jesus obviously stirred the pot quite a bit yesterday with his discussion with Viva Frei. If you haven't seen that, we'll show a short clip of that. And then there's another clip from his show last night, which I haven't seen yet, but we're going to just play out and kind of go through it. There's a lot of nuance in what he says. And also something that actually annoys me, and I may annoy you with my opinion on this today. So I'm just giving you a fair warning because it's a phenomenon that it's like the more I see it, the more it annoys me, because it has to do with our choices of whether things are individual or collective. Okay, and I've never seen myself as the collective type because I'm an individual who does things the way I do, and so any stereotypes about a certain collective that people like to talk about a lot on the internet. Every time I see it, I'm like, well, I'm in that imaginative, this blurred state line collective, and that's not what I'm like. I get that way when people talk about. I get that people would talk about my state because there's some great things about where I live. I get that way about people of my same melanated status. We're not all alike, but. And the time that people choose when we are all alike and we're not all alike often depends on situations, and so it's frustrating for me. And as I'm watching this discussion yesterday, I'm completely seeing the nuances of what someone's saying, where some people just may ignore them because they're so caught up in the emotions behind, how the words make them feel. And not what the words that are being said. So, I may piss off a few people today, and that's it is what it is. If that's the reason not to hang around, that's cool. I don't have that many followers to lose, but just try to listen carefully to what I'm saying today, though, because I think you'll pretty much understand me. So, anyway, there's lots of stuff going on, but first I want to say hi to everybody like I always do. First in the chat today is none other than Mr. JB. Yeah, you get the bell. Congratulations. Also, good morning. I laugh. Good morning. It's afternoon. I think I got the stream started just like at 11:59 my time. But unless you're in the mountain or West Coast or somewhere in Asia, it's still it's not morning, or it's not Asia. Asia would be late evening. So
if you're in the Western time zones, yeah, it's still morning to you. So good morning to you. So anyway, I don't know where the hell you are. Also, good morning. Dom O'Leary's in the house. What's up, my friend? Welcome. Blue-Eyed Screams here. Liberty Vet, good morning. Resolute Germ, Attack Alpaca. Selective Boys here. Johnny Boomer Tech's doing a job. That's good. Mike Savage, Blarg, K-Shell, what up, Kirsten? Unacceptable Views, my other favorite Canadian. The Pope is here, Pope Tyrannus III, the Blessed Lich. With today's message, a poem not from the Father, not from the Son, but from the Holy Ghost. And today's message is, blessing of the Holy Ghost. Today, think about the small mercies you have been granted over the years. Thought about them. Now, how many of them did you deserve? That is proof he loves unconditionally. I thought you meant think about them. Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice message. Oh. Hell, that might even be pinned. I'm gonna pin that just for a second so y'all can read that on your own. I'm gonna be occasionally pinning different thoughts that pop up in the works today. I never thought of this. Am I able to pin? Oh, I can pin questions too. Or can I? Oh, no, I can't. I was hoping I'd be able to pin questions today. But anyway, it's also Friday Q&A. So if you have any questions, throw them in the Q&A section. Also, good morning to, I see Avocados Diablo is here. What's up? And Old Guy Gamer, good morning. Welcome. So, you've been up since 2:45 a.m. Pacific time. Damn, why are you up so early? I thought this, so I brought my little comfort cushion pillow because this chair during my recovery is not my favorite piece of furniture, and it's not working. I'm trying to fucking fix this shit. Oh, wait. Oh, that's better. Oh, that's a lot better. Okay, I'm having trouble because it's hard to get comfortable in this chair, so I brought a different cushion down here to put on it. That's an ergonomic memory foam cushion, and it wasn't helping, but now it is because I had it back too far. So just bear with me. I may take a break in the middle of the show today because I don't really have a time limit, but I don't want to be here too long because I can't sit too long. I have to move regularly with my rehab and whatever. So my what do you call it? Recovery. With my recovery, I have to move regularly. So we may do a short break in the middle of the show just so I can walk back and forth for a little bit and then come back. So let's what else do I got to do here? Oh, thank the people who shared the stream. Let's do that. There's a few of you here so far, or who have replied to the stream. Today, I had a Matrix theme of the Bring It. And so today, thank you, Resolute Germ, repost the show with a little, is that Neo? No, Neo's the black guy, right? Who's this guy in the Matrix? Whatever their names. I don't give a shit. It was a major theme. But also, this one's funny. Thank you. Who said this? This is JB. I don't know if you can see this. So this is what scares you the most in some elementary school yearbook or something. And that was one of the questions. The first one, werewolves, which, if werewolves are real, I certainly would be frightened of werewolves. Also, this one says, what scares you the most? Lions. Yes, lions. Very, very scary. Now I'm going to skip this one down here because I'm going to go to the bottom one. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's Mike says werewolves, right? Mike says werewolves. Nikki says lions, this young lady. Connor says, what scares you the most? The constant drill of time pulling us slowly toward an inevitable death. Well, that's wild. That's wild. And then the final kid down here, I can't see the name, but what scares you the most? Connor. the kid above him. That's very, very funny. That's very funny. So thank you. I think that was JB, yes, who did that. Also, thank you, Kirsten. Oops. Oh, wait, I scrolled too fast. Mike Savage also sharing the show. Greatly appreciated it. Appreciate it. Ty Alexander with our daily Ric Flair. Woo! Which we always enjoy that. And then people who just reposted my stream is Tyler Tyre Alexander, Kirsten Scholl, Kay Scholl, JB, and Resolute Germs. Thanks everyone to do that. If you can share the stream, that'd be fantastic. I haven't linked it, so if you're not on X, you probably won't find it anyway. All right, let's get to just kind of the. By the way, as we know, every day on this planet, there's something to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? There's always something to celebrate. And so today, let's see what we need to celebrate. Now, first, of course, it is Friday, and I didn't wear red today. But I did want to remind you to remember everyone deployed Red Friday. Here it says, Rise and Shine, Buttercups. It's Red Friday and TGIF. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm getting tired of hearing we have to deal with Iran. What? Okay, I didn't read this first. Let's see what it says. They are making us look like fools. We have all these military assets in the Middle East, yet Iran hasn't signed a deal in months. I don't trust them this time either. Does anyone feel the same? And then also Carmelo Anthony's parents out there saying guilty verdict is all about racism. The evidence spoke for itself. Imagine if a white kid killed a black kid by stabbing them in the chest and only got 35 years. I think there would be cities burned to the ground at this point. Okay, that's just this person's opinion. I don't know. Do you agree with that? I do agree that there would be a complete shift. I mean, look, if the facts were exactly the same other than the melanin content of the kids, would you consider that a fair trial? And do you think that the people out there screaming would still be mad? I don't think as a collective, which is, there's no such, I don't know if there's a collective white people or not, that they would be screaming that this is an unfair trial. Someone stabbing a kid and killing him is the way the facts of this case are. I don't think so. I think the case worked perfectly. And I know there's still people out there who were saying that it didn't. Look, I don't even, the fact that Carmelo had a knife, I don't think it was a problem. The fact that he killed somebody with a knife was the problem. So, because some people say, well, he had a right to have a knife. Well, of course, he may have had a right to have a knife. I don't know. Maybe not on school property, but whatever. What I'm saying is, it was how he used the knife that got him in trouble. And should Austin have touched him? No, but that doesn't change the facts of the case and the law. And there's another video that I don't know if I posted it yesterday or what, that explained the law of the case. That if you look at the law of the case, then the jury came to a correct decision, in my opinion, based on what I know, based on the testimony in the case, not the internet bullshit, the made up stuff that everyone, or even the, it's so funny because I listened to Jasmine Crockett talk about this, and she talked about a hypothetical that didn't match the case at all. And her hypothetical, she was correct. If a 300-pound man was on her, beating on her and whatever, and she was feeling like she's within, an inch for life, that she stabbed somebody and killed him, that would not be murder. That would be self-defense. I don't think anyone would convict her of that. But that's not what happened in the case. I'm going on a tangent. Let me finish. I'm actually talking about Red Fridays. Anyway, remember all those deployed. Have them in your hearts and prayers. Also celebrating today, let's see what the calendar says. It's National Loving Day. Aww. Show your appreciation for those who bring love and joy into your life. Family, friends, and significant others. I have a personal experience with that just from yesterday. One of my dear friends from high school, like one of my, if I had 5 favorite people in high school, this would have been one of them. She was in town for work, her conference. She does business, and some of her business is here in Minnesota, which she just got, some of her client base changed. So she covers Minnesota, and she's in town for a conference and, meetings with these businesses. And she called me out of the blue, came by, just wanted to see how I was feeling. That's a very loving thing to do. And I appreciate her as much as any person I appreciate around me right now, because you know what, she took some time out of her day. She has a very busy schedule over only the 2 days that she's going to be here, and she just came to visit to see how I was doing. She knew I had my hip surgery and just wanted to come and say hi. And so appreciate those who show love in whatever way they show love. There you go. Also, it's National Red Rose Day. Celebrate National Red Rose Day by sending a bouquet. Oh, I didn't even not know that. If I was mobile, I would go over to Sam's Club and buy my wife a dozen red roses, because my wife deserves red roses every day. She deserves flowers every day. Also, it's Superman Day, pop culture observance of June 12th, celebrating the legacy, cultural impact, and enduring mythology of the Superman franchise. Is it like Superman's birthday or something? Or is this the day that the comic was created? I don't know. That's cool. National Peanut Butter Cookie Day. Oh, maybe I'll make some peanut butter cookies for my wife instead of red roses, because I have all the ingredients to make peanut butter cookies. If your name is, National Jerky Day, and I don't mean go be an asshole to somebody, the actual jerky dried beef that's salted and peppercorns, yummy. Was June 12th the day he arrived? It could be. I'm not sure as far as Superman goes. National Esther Day. If your name is Esther, who the hell named you? You got to be 95. Does anyone name their kid Esther? But now I'm thinking, holy shit, that would be a really cool name to make a comeback right now. Except, as long as you don't have, as long as no one's playing reruns of Sanford and Son around you, that'd be interesting if people start. It's kind of like, because a lot of names from like the 20s and 30s like are making it back into the lexicon of people are naming their kids. And I think of my granddaughter. My granddaughter's name is Coralie, which is a name that is not a popular name, but it was a popular name back in the day. So interesting. Democracy Day, time to exercise your right to vote and celebrate democracy. Well, what's today? Friday? No one's voting on Friday, but I get it. Philippines Independence Day, International Falafel Day. I love me some falafel. White Nights Festival in St. Petersburg in Russia. Okay, interesting. Raggedy Ann and Andy Day. Hey, tell all your ginger friends. Child Labor Day. Okay, now wait a minute. Again, this is one of those poorly named holidays. That's poorly named. It should be anti-child labor day or anti-labor day. We don't want child labor. Pulse Night of Remembrance. This is the anniversary of the Pulse shootings in Florida. Interesting. My choir that I sing in, we had our concert a few weeks ago. In fact, it was the weekend before my surgery, I think. No, it wasn't that. Well, it wasn't that close. But anyway, we had one of the pieces we did was it was a show with all Minnesota composers or Minnesota Connection songs, and one of the composers wrote a song for remembrance of the people of the Pulse shooting, and that was one of the pieces we did. And I know it sounds political, but it was also it was a nice song, and I don't. It doesn't matter. And besides, that asshole that shot up the nightclub, fuck that guy. World again. Okay, now here's the properly named of holiday: World Day Against Child Labor. That makes more sense than Child Labor Day. No, we don't. Unless you're telling your kid to mow the lawn, we don't want child labor. Sacred Heart Day, National Button Battery Awareness. Oh, so you got to be careful with those button batteries. That's how you get rid of them. You do not want children to accidentally swallow them. And then Russia Day, it's probably related to St. Petersburg Day. All right, let's get into the news finally. And it's going to be, well, here's a few trending topics, and then we're going to get into my main topic today. Now, it's interesting. 1 year ago, 1 year and 1 week ago, I was at the place I'm about to talk about, the trending topics on X today. So Sagrada Familia, it's not a basilica. Well, it's a basilica. It's a church that's been being built in Barcelona, Spain for 144 years. And it's this amazing complex. Well, the Pope has blessed the Sagrada Familia Tower of Jesus Christ after 144 years. The Tower of Jesus Christ reaching 172.5 meters to become the world's tallest church spire was completed in February with a massive four-armed cross and blessed on June 10th, 2026 during a mass attended by Spain's king, queen, and prime minister. Pope Leo XIV prayed at Gaudi's crypt tomb, calling the basilica a catechesis? I don't know what that means. Made of stone, color, and light, while thousands watch an evening drone show. Fireworks of the tower's first glow, tracing Gaudi's image and motto. Gaudi's the guy who designed it. Though funded by tickets and not fully finished until the 2030s, the milestone honors Gaudi's 43 devoted years on the project he lived for until 1926, a tram accident he died in. So this, now, I am not Catholic, but anytime we go, anytime, the two times that we have gone to Europe, Lady Boom and I have made it a point to go to some of these beautiful, beautiful churches, right? This church is spectacular. I mean, they're not done building. They started building it 144 years ago. And this tower, this tall tower, obviously, they added the cross at the top, making it the highest, the tallest tower church in the world, right? This thing has so much going on. You can't. I have to see if some of these pictures do it justice. Here's a good. I hope these don't have music, but we'll see. Let's see. It's unbelievable. Okay, it does have music. This is massive. This church is massive. I mean, unbelievably large. So let's see. I'm going to play without the music though. You can kind of see this building. Okay. First of all, that's just the outside. Okay. Now I haven't seen this. Interesting how they're lighting it up here. Obviously, they designed it so they can do light shows from the church. And it's 172 meters high, so it's basically about which would be about 200 yards, maybe 1.6. It's tall. It's super tall. Okay, it's huge. It's massive. We took a tour inside the church. When you go inside, you can see these blue stained glass windows here. In the morning sun, those blue stained glass windows that just pulls this big, just rays of blue and green light through. And then when it's on the west side of the church, or east side's church, and then when it's on the west side of the church, the other side is all orange and reds and stuff. And the insides of this church is, unbelievable. Hopefully there's some good pictures in here. They keep showing these pictures from far away. So it's hard to tell. But here's what the La Sagrada Familia wrote. This Sunday, 14th of June, we will jointly celebrate a historic double milestone, the completion of the Tower of Jesus Christ and the centenary of Antoni Gaudi's death, with a grand parade that will go through the heart of the city, accompanied by the giant figure groups from the neighborhood and Barcelona, under the coordination and management of the Barcelona Giant Figures Group, whatever that means. We will highlight our festive heritage, shared roots, and the community, the spirit that unites us. Let me see if I want to go to, maybe I should go to their website to just show you some of the pictures, because these pictures are all from the outside and doesn't really show you the details. There you can kind of see the grandiosity of this church. And you can see the scale of the buildings around it. It is massive. It is massive. Over 500 feet tall. Yeah, but these are all outdoor shots. Let me see if I can find I mean, I could find my pictures of it because we took all kinds of pictures. Maybe I'll try that, except it takes too long for me to find pictures on here. Let's see. We were there June 3rd. Let me find June 3rd on here. Okay. Of course, this is a pain in the ass. Oh, good Lord. This is a pain in the ass. What is this? Okay. Apparently I'm not signed into Apple. All right, here we go. Let me find June 3rd on here because it's just amazing and it's worth the time, and I'm not on a time frame today, so I don't care. All right, let's go to June. Where's my scale? Let's go to June 3rd, 2025. The only reason I know it's June 3rd is I was looking at pictures of this yesterday. And I just it's so incredibly spectacular. You just got to see it. I think I might have showed some of this back when we got back. June 3rd is when we were in Barcelona. I'm still June 5th. We took a lot of pictures while we were over there. It's crazy. All right. Now, let's get out of Familia. Oh, maybe it wasn't June 3rd. Oh, shoot. Well, sorry I wasn't really prepared for this, but I'm going to take the time. That was the beach day. That was we were back in. Maybe it's June 2nd. Oh, here it is. Oh, here we go. Oh, good. This is worth it for me to show you this. The amazing church that this is. And we'll just go through some of it. And I'll try to skip the videos. All right, so here is so this is when we were walking up to it, the exterior of the church. It has so many details, just statues and different scenes. I guess I could call them dioramas throughout. Very, very detailed stuff. And the detail and interesting aspects of it are just unbelievable. So as you can kind of see all the different sides here. Let me skip that. There's multiple towers on it that each have these different orbs and things that have different types of light. If you can see that. Just the detail work all in the church is crazy. And again, this has taken about 144 years to build. It won't be done for it'll be done finally in about 6 years. There's one final facade that they're completing based on Gaudi's blueprint. They have the entire blueprint of this church, but it's just taken that long to build. Let me see here, skip here. Again, you can see the detail in every aspect of every corner of this church. It's unbelievable. And then also I was telling you about how from the inside, how the stained glass shows up. So this is on one side of the church. I'm going to skip over. They have the red side and they have the warm side and the cool side is that they call it. The cool side is the morning sun and the warm side is the evening sun. So here's where it looks from on the cool side as you're inside the church. And then when you go to the warm side, and the sun was just happened to be on that side of the church, that's what it looks like when it's coming in through the windows. So it's an incredible place. Again, it's called Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, Spain. If you want more details, you can look it up. There's all kinds of stuff there. I want to have those photos in there. So anyway, that big deal, big damn deal. And I guess over 1 million people showed up for this blessing by the Pope. Pretty amazing stuff. All right, moving on. It took too long that day. Apparently, some of the World Cup visitors who are coming to the United States are getting a unexpected surprise that the United States is a pretty cool place to be and people are very friendly. So this is one of the featured articles. World Cup visitors praise America's vast charm and everyday joys. As the 2026 FIFA World Cup opened Thursday with Mexico's 2-0 win over South Africa in Mexico City, European fans flooding U.S. host cities shared videos gushing over the country's friendly people, diverse landscapes, from deserts to mountains, and simple pleasures like free refills and air conditioning. A British woman in a viral clip declared America lucky for the unmatched service and vastness, while a German fan raved about Southern hospitality from Atlanta Transit to Chattanooga diners. Hosting across 11 cities through July 19th is showcasing what locals cherish, though some note domestic divides and travel costs. Well, you know, we can't always be perfect. So this lady here is the one they're talking about. Her name is Leah Ray. I guess she's a Brit. And now this is interesting because I thought about this. She said, am I right saying the majority of Americans haven't got a passport? I've asked a few people where they have traveled and they say all over, but then they list Miami, New York, Philadelphia, and Vegas. I hear you guys in London all the time, so obviously some of you have them. But is it not a common thing to leave the USA? Well, and I have a good explanation for that, although more than half of Americans do have passports, but a lot don't. And so I answered this just this morning. I said part of it is the vastness of the U.S. I can drive 6 hours and still be in my own state. You need a passport to drive from anywhere from London for 6 hours in a straight line. I can drive to New York City in 18 hours, passing through 7 states without a passport. How many times would you need your passport to travel 18 hours in one direction by land? A year ago, I was in Spain for a wedding. Over a 3-day period, I needed my passport 8 times, traveling from Spain to Morocco, back to Spain, into Gibraltar and out, a long layover in Dublin, and back home to the U.S. I've been to 45 of the 50 United States, and not once have I needed a passport. Have you been to 45 countries? Ask a Brit who has traveled the U.S. extensively, and maybe you'll understand it better. So it's fascinating. But yeah, I have, I think we have 52% of Americans have passports, but not everyone needs one. You could travel. Look, I could travel in Minnesota for 10 years, seeing all the interesting things there are, and never leave the state and still be content. But I like seeing a lot of shit. So this just is what it is. So anyway, but so apparently a lot of the Brits or people coming to the United States are happy with what they're seeing. Let's see. Here's another one. Let's see what this chick says. I don't know what her name is. This might be the actual one that they were talking about.
I was well and truly born in the wrong country. I'm a British girl and I have been to around 27 different countries in my whole life. I've been to the Caribbean, I've been to St. Lucia, I've been to Barbados, I've been to South...
Now, let me stop for a second. Let me just stop for a second. Why did she... Oh, you can't, my hand doesn't go for it. Why did she do that with her hair? She put the hair out in front first. Did she just want everyone to know she's blonde or something? That's just a weird way to have her hair. Anyway.
East Asia, Thailand, Bali, places in Europe. I've been all over the world basically. And nothing comes close to the USA. You can get every single landscape, every single climate, you can get everything in the US. The people, the food, the landscapes, the cars, the trucks, everything in the US simply beats anything I've ever experienced anywhere in the world. I was born in the wrong country. I feel like I belong in the US. My heart is there. I mean, we found a puppy in the US. We rescued a puppy in the US and brought her home to the UK. There are no words to describe.
Wait a minute. A puppy or a poppy? Like a flower or a dog? I'm just trying to figure out what the hell you just said.
How lucky you guys are to live there. Americans are so lucky to live in such an amazing country. And I wish I was there, guys, honestly.
You know, that's encouraging to hear. It's quite encouraging to hear. Let's try another one here. Let's see what this young man has to say. He's definitely a Brit, though. Just saying.
I've been driving for 5 minutes now and I can't wipe this smile off my face. I'm driving a Ram truck in America. Like, look how sick this is. Country music on the radio. Oh, go on. I'm going to Hooters in a Ram truck in America, boys.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. At first I thought he said he's driving around drunk. No, he's driving a truck. He's driving a truck. Okay.
Praise for freedom!
Okay, that's interesting. I don't know what that one is. Let's see if there are any others that any others here. European soccer players 30 seconds after landing in America. Oh, let's see what this one is. Watching Europeans come to America for the first time and absolutely love it makes me love my country even more. Let's see what this guy says.
I think I have a new favorite genre in the United States that I hope never goes away, and that is Europeans coming over here for the very first time and experiencing the United States, experiencing ranch dressing.
What up? Hey, Jaeger Pony, my favorite Canadians in the house. Also TC. What up, TC?
And free refills and crushed ice and F-150 pickup trucks and SEC football stadiums with B-52s and Black Hawk helicopters flying overhead with red, white, and blue fireworks shooting up and an eagle flying around the stadium. Like, I'm not even a college football fan, and as an American, that makes me want to grab the biggest American flag I can find.
Okay, this guy's not helping. I don't want to hear his opinion. I want to hear Europeans. Or we had that guy. We already had her. Are there any others? Well, at least there's those two. All right, we'll leave it at that. Anyway, you get the point. All right, moving on. Other things that are trending. Now this gets into the Carmelo Anthony thing. Something called the Gin and Juice podcast. I've never heard of it. But apparently it's a podcast that somebody knows about. Gin and Juice podcast host urged jury deception in high-profile murder trial discussion. Co-host Melissa Frederick and her sister Melanie lamented the lack of black jurors in 19-year-old Carmelo Anthony's first-degree murder trial for stabbing a 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a Frisco track meet in April 2025. They suggested saying, I have never heard about this case. Okay, wait a minute. If those are the first words out of your mouth, almost everything else that you have an opinion about the case is null and void. But let's see. She said, I have never heard about this case. I can be fair and believing it a little drawing sharp criticism for seemingly encouraging dishonesty in jury selection. Anthony received a 35-year sentence from an all-white jury. No, it was not an all-white jury. And that they need to stop saying that. That's not true. It was not an all-white jury. There were no black people in the jury, but it was not an all-white jury. Absence of black doesn't mean everything else is white. After self-defense claim, and the self-defense claim failed, and by Texas law it failed. With the podcast clip fueling outrage over perceived calls to rig juries along racial lines. That would be a problem, but some people think it happens. Legal experts note such lies under oath could lead to mistrials or perjuries. Let's see the part that everyone's clipping to make this case that they're talking about rigging trials. And if they are, I don't support that by any stretch of the imagination. Let's see what it is.
If they say, can you be fair? Don't say, no, I'm not finna put a black man in jail. Don't say that. Okay. Because if that's what you're going to say, you could have stayed home. You have to go and be like, no, I will hear the evidence. I can be fair. Don't say.
So are they arguing for jury nullification through deception? That's fucked up if it's true. No, don't do that.
Hey, I hate white people and I don't care what he did. Don't do that. That's what people were doing in this case. Okay, and then everybody's like in an uproar because there's no black people on the jury.
Well, if they were saying that truthfully, then they shouldn't be on a jury. Why would you want someone who's not going to tell the truth of the jury? Would you want anyone of any other level of melanated enhancement, of any melanated enhancement, saying that on a jury trial? Or would you want them to look at the facts and apply the law to the facts, apply the facts to the law? It's the only criteria of being on a jury. And if you can't do that, then you should not be on a jury. But apparently, maybe there's a perception that they're saying to lie to get on a jury so you could acquit somebody without the evidence, or in spite of evidence. Let's see how this goes.
When damn near half of the black people who could have been on the jury canceled themselves out. Don't do that. Okay, so don't do that. See, somebody in the comments talking about that's what got me put out. Don't do that. When you go up there,
if you can't be unbiased, then don't try to be on a jury. Then I don't get it.
Say no, I have never heard about this case. I can be fair. Say that, okay, and then mean it, believe it a little bit. Don't tell them you can't be impartial. You could have stayed home.
Because then you're going to be Easter egg. They say you're going to be, I'm rooting for everybody black.
Yeah.
I would have to remember that because I would be in there like, I would almost be too eager. Oh God. I would probably be too eager just to go flip mode. Do you? Yep, I do believe whatever you do.
They're going to kick you out.
You just said, I don't know who that person was that said that the other day. What I believe today, this is a video of you saying, that wasn't me. I didn't say those things. I believe in the rule of law. I believe.
Ma'am, all we asked was what was your first name?
Law and Order. My first name is Law and Order.
Be like, get her out of here.
My first name is Sustained.
Y'all be regular.
Overruled.
Just be regular.
Oh God, I would be in there. They'd be like, just get her out of here because something might be wrong with her.
So in this case, apparently that is what happened with the. They said, they dismissed 3 of the people who could have been black on the jury because I think 2 of them said they couldn't be unbiased. And 1 was rejected 2 because 2 were rejected 2 because they were teachers in the school district. And it didn't say who they would be unbiased against necessarily, but they were rejected because of that. I don't know.
Oh, something just get, no, my first name is guilty.
Listen, everybody else that be called, they be at the very least acted like they can be fair.
Yeah.
So don't go in there and act like.
How do you know that? See, that's the other thing. Everyone again is talking about hypotheticals and speculation. They base everything about this case on hypotheticals and speculation. That no way that these jurors could have been fair because none of them had the correct level of melanin. So that's fast.
All of a sudden, you have to be the most honest person you've ever been. Listen, don't tell them I said that, but I'm just saying. People get on these juries and be.
My sister's name is
racist.
I'm not a lawyer. So I think I am the lawyer.
No.
Between Law and Order and CSI, I grew up on those shows. And now my sister, let me tell you something. I could do your job, to be honest with you.
Well, don't go. Stay home. Please. You're ruining the points. Y'all are ruining the points.
Ma'am,
then
dismiss,
people on
go home.
The people on this case were doing that, and you see where we got.
Well, they told the truth, and so they shouldn't be on a jury. I don't know. They don't show enough of this clip. Encouraging black people to lie in court for no other reason than to throw juries into a racial disarray is beyond demonic. I don't know. If that's what they're saying, then that's incorrect. That's wrong too. I'm not going to say it's the right thing to do. Other things happening. Apparently SpaceX had its IPO or something. And now apparently Elon Musk is worth over $1 trillion. Now, there was a couple things that are trending regarding this. Fidelity is trending, the trading house, whatever. So here it is. Do you understand what just happened with the SpaceX IPO? Fidelity quietly dropped its minimum account requirement from $500,000 to $2,000 to get into this IPO, a 99.6 cut that lets millions of small retail investors in days before the biggest stock debut in history. The catch is who they need to sell to. Now, this is an opinion. I'll just say it. SpaceX reserved up to 30% of the offering for retail, far above the usual single-digit share. Selling within the first 15 days triggers Fidelity penalties up to a permanent IPO ban. At a $1.675 trillion pre-money valuation, this IPO creates more exit value than every VC-backed IPO in the last decade combined. The XAI side lost $6.4 billion from operations in 2025, dragging a Starlink-powered company billions into the red. They open the gates right when the smart money needs someone to sell to. Read the prospectus before you become the prospective, which is what they said. Because, look, it sounds dirty a little bit, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound a little dirty? Fidelity lowers the minimum account requirement for the SpaceX IPO from as high as $500,000 to just $2,000. This is the most outrageous deal I've seen in my 45 years on Wall Street. I don't know who this George Noble. He's Fidelity Overseas Fund, #1 mutual fund in USA. SpaceX just disclosed Musk's new compensation package. He gets up to 200 million super voting shares if SpaceX hits a $7.5 trillion valuation. It hasn't done that. Establishes a personal human settlement of at least 1 million people on Mars, and deploys roughly 100 terawatts of space-based computing power. Let me put the 100 terawatts into perspective. The entire electricity generation capacity of the United States is around 1.2 terawatts. The comp plan asks Musk to build more than 80 times America's entire power grid in orbit. This is a science fiction screenplay that somehow landed in the front of the Securities and Exchange Commission. But here's why it actually matters to your portfolio. The S1 reportedly claims a $28.5 trillion total addressable market, with over 90% attributed to AI. Cape Fair advisors flagged this one cleanly when Palantir went public. It disclosed 119 billion TAM, and the SEC reviewed it and accepted it. SpaceX is claiming a market roughly 240 times bigger. Now let's talk about what is actually being sold here. Reported 2025 revenue is approximately $15.5 billion. Starlink delivers around $11 billion of that, with healthy margins, and the launch business is genuinely dominant. The problem is XAI, the AI piece, doing all the heavy lifting with the $1 trillion valuation pitch. XAI generated just $210 million of revenue in the first three quarters of 2025, while burning through $9.5 billion in cash. Ben Ray and Rupert Mitchell, the former Fidelity portfolio manager and former head of equity capital management at Golden and City, between them ran a serious discounted cash flow on the actual operating business and arrived at a roughly $400 billion. Lawrence Fossey covered their work recently, and the math holds up. The IPO is being marketed at $1.75 trillion. The gap between what these businesses support and what Musk is asking the public to pay is roughly $1.35 trillion of pure narrative. He's got people convinced, though. Then layer on what we just learned last week. The New York Times investigation revealed Musk personally borrowed $500 million from SpaceX between 2018 and 2020 at rates as low as 1%, while bank prime rates sat around 5%. The same SpaceX has been used to bail out Solar City, prop up Tesla during cash crunches, and absorb XAI when the AI losses became unmanageable. This is the same playbook he's run for 2 decades, using a privately controlled entity as a personal piggy bank, and when the bills come due, find new investors to absorb the losses. The IPO is structured to keep the game going forever. The Texas reincorporation strips away Delaware's fiduciary protections, controlled company status on the NASDAQ, eliminates independent board requirements, and the retail is being offered up to 30% of the offering, 3 times the normal allocation, because the institutions who actually do the math are quietly stepping away. Careful individual investors, I'm just saying. Here's the part that finishes the case for me. Roughly $40 billion of the IPO proceeds are already spoken for before a single dollar reaches operations. About $23 billion retires SpaceX debt. Another $17 billion retires the high-interest debt sitting on XAI and X. The raise is not funding the future. It's plugging existing holes that retail investors will now own. In my 45 years, I've never seen a deal where the comp hurdle is colonizing another planet. I've never seen a disclosed TAM that exceeds verified comparables by 2 orders of magnitude. I've never seen a company asking the public to fund a retirement of debt incurred by separate private entities controlled by the same individual. Every red flag I've watched precede a major bust over 4 decades is sitting in this prospectus in plain sight. The Tesla mispricing is being repeated on a far larger scale, and this time the bag is being handed directly to retail. Small investors. Don't be the one holding it. So, the stock market, as you know, knew it just ended. In 24 hours, SpaceX lists at $1.77 trillion. Fidelity cut its SpaceX minimum. Robinhood, SoFi, others, no minimum. And also, so that's interesting. And then also Schwab is also trending because every brokerage offering SpaceX allocations except Schwab attached strict anti-flipping rules. So they weren't allowing people to flip it as soon as they got it and it was going up. Fidelity, sell within 15 days and you're banned from IPOs for 6 months. Second offense, a year. Third, a permanent. Robinhood, self-declared retail stronghold, tracks your shares for 30 days. Sell early and you're locked out of IPO access for 60. Why? The underwriters demanded it. Morgan Stanley and the banks controlling allocations told brokerages directly, take this stock, but guarantee your clients don't toss it back on day one. If you don't, your platform gets 0 allocation on the next hot deal. All the brokerage firms complied instantly. Their IPO, especially with OpenAI and Anthropic IPOs coming, their pipeline is worth more than retail trading freedom. But the hedge fund that got allocation through its prime broker can flip at the open with 0 consequence. That's dirty! That's dirty! The retail account that got 5 shares through Fidelity gets penalized for doing the same thing. Retail was given access to the demand side of this IPO. Exit remains institutional. So again, is this an exit liquidity? Democratize finance as long as you hold what they need you to hold for exactly as long as they need you to hold it. And then there's a new report on SpaceX only selling shares to people that are not selling but staying long. I don't like the sound of any of that. Anybody think that sounds good? I don't. You know, I mean, I'm a fan of Elon Musk, but I don't like that. That's wild. It's hot as balls outside. It is here it cooled off because we had rain all yesterday. All right, moving on. Facebook and Instagram were down today, and people are like, oh my God, Facebook and Instagram are down. They're losing $312,000 per minute. Blah, 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 blah. I think Facebook and Instagram, I think they'll be okay. Now, I don't know. Has anybody tried to go on Facebook or Instagram in the last 4 hours? But here's the one. Here it is. Facebook and Instagram are down worldwide, and Meta is losing $312,000 a minute. 3 billion users worldwide outage. The clock is running. Facebook, 3.7 billion monthly active users. Instagram, 2 billion monthly active users online. Meta review in 2024. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. In the biggest arena of I don't give a fuck there is possible. we'll check if Instagram. We'll check if either of them are running later in the show. Ta-da! All right, let's get to the bigger topic. So, the headline that generated via Grok: Texas teen gets 35 years for fatal stabbing at track meet. That's the Grok generated headline. Just a summary of different things on X. On April 2nd, during a district track competition, Carmelo Anthony sought shelter under a rival school's tent, leading to a confrontation where he stabbed Austin Metcalf in the chest after a warning and physical contact. A Collin County jury convicted the now 19-year-old Anthony of first-degree murder on June 9th, 2026, sentencing him to 35 years despite his self-defense argument. Well, the self-defense argument failed to the jury based on the other witnesses and facts of the case. Reaction splits sharply, with Anthony's family alleging an all-white jury, despite its diversity. A fundraising effort raising $634,000 before being shut down. And ugly acts like grave desecration while Metcalf's father raged against race baiting. And a black father outside the court urged kids not to stab. So this is, this has been the hottest topic over the last 3 days. And fascinating, my friend Hotep Jesus had an interesting discussion with Viva Frei, if you're familiar with those two characters, that is generating some controversy. And then I didn't see Hotep's Been Told You last night, but I guess they talked about it further there, and there's a clip from there. So we'll go through a couple of these things. So this is interesting. Now, and also what's fascinating, and I'm going to tell you I'll let you know what's pissing me off. The kind of posts that are pissing me off right now. Though my melanin is not prominent, I am a melanated American of the African descent variety. And there's some stuff pissing me off about not white people in general, but certainly some individuals, because I don't treat myself as part of a community of individuals. I treat myself as a community of my family and the people who I choose to associate with, and that's all. So there's no collective guilt. There's no collective opinions, because we all have different opinions based on many different things. That's the way I like to look at it. So first of all, there's this one lady. Oh, by the way, Austin Metcalf's dad, while he's finally allowed to speak out, did nothing to help the situation as far as I'm concerned. I understand his grief, and I'm not going to tell him how to use his grief. And I understand that he's raging against people who've done nothing but claim what they believe his heart to be. And so he lashed out at people who were doing that with some words that probably didn't help the situation at all as far as relations, so to speak. And so, everyone, let's just say a lot of people are living up to the stereotypical expectations of each other. And there's a lot of people who are just level-headed and trying to see this as an individual case and how to live life and whatnot. So there's going to be lots of examples. They're not going to be in any particular order here, but let's start with this one, because one of the big questions that one lady asked, and we showed it not yesterday, the day before yesterday, when she was saying, what do I tell my kids? What do I tell my 5 boys that, how they're going to get through this world? And to which my answer was immediately, don't stab anyone if they touch you. Granted, someone might touch you and you're not going to like it, but don't stab them. Don't do something that will kill them, because then you'll be in trouble too. It's always the second kid who throws a punch is the one who gets in trouble the most, right? Or like in the NBA, if someone, they get in a fight in the NBA, the hockey fight, and the first person to throw the punch, the refs don't see it, but the refs see the retaliation, and then the penalty box. But But in this case, the retaliation was a little more than just retaliation. It actually killed somebody, and that's the chance you take when you retaliate on things that maybe aren't as big as you thought they were in the moment that it happened. But this guy also has another answer. This guy, this gentleman, is getting praise from some of the people who are also pissing me off. So here's, let's see if I can get this out here.
What do you want us to do? What do you want us to do at this point? What? I'm lost for words. I don't know what to do. I got 5 boys. I don't know what. I ain't got nothing to tell them no more. You can't walk away no more. What do you want us to do?
I also have 5 boys. She doesn't know what to do after the Carmelo incident. Like what to tell her sons, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and try something. Today, boys, when you go out into school, don't stab any other kids. You think you guys can do that? You feel good about that, Lee? You feel good about that, Ace?
Yeah.
Oh, you're Aunt Trail. This is Ace. So, is that a good commitment from everybody? We're not going to stab any kids today?
Probably not.
Hey, try that, Lee.
Probably not.
It wasn't really in my game plan.
All right, so it's not really my game plan. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, look. Again, we'll get into this when we watch the clip from Hotep Jesus, because I understood it. There's also, oh, this is awful too.
What do you want us to do?
So there's
What do you want us to do at this point? What?
Apparently there's people out there simulating or actually pissing on Austin. What's his name? Austin Metcalf's grave. They're out there taking pictures of themselves, either simulating it or actual pictures of themselves doing it. That's fucked up. Why? Why would you be pissing on his grave? Oh, because you're the person with melanated skin who killed him got sentenced, and so you're blaming it on Austin instead of the actions of the person who stabbed somebody to death. I don't understand that. Here's the part that Jeff Metcalf, the father of the twins, I think he fucked up doing this. I think this was stupid of him. But again, I think the whole situation is people doing stupid things, and then he goes and does this. Now, I understand if you watch the entire clip of why he goes this here, I get it. He's grieving and he's tired of everything that everyone's been calling him. So he decided to just go out there and go scorched earth on them. But he included this phrase, which could be easily taken, clipped, and sent all over the world and put him in danger.
Y'all can let me make something racist up so y'all can go viral. I got a new name for Mello, okay? Because he was such this little boy y'all were trying to portray. How about watermelon felon? How's that one strike you? Y'all.
Now, if you watch the entire rant, he, from the very beginning, clearly stated he didn't want this to be about race, because the race had nothing to do with it. And so now he's given him a clip that people who are against, whatever, the supporters of Carmelo Anthony, he's got a clip that they can use, so now they can label him a racist. I don't think before this event, my guess it wasn't that wasn't probably the case, but now they can paint him that way because he gave him that ammunition, and it's just an angry rant for a very long time that he had, that a grieving man had, is tired of the people trying to beat on him. And this guy says he killed his son. He gets to call him whatever he wants. Well, yeah, but now there's other things along here. Oh, Don Lemon talking to D.L. Hughley, the comedian. A lot of people are posting this clip. Don Lemon claiming that it was an all-white jury, which it was not an all-white jury, but you're hearing this ad nauseum from the people who don't like how the results of the trial.
Well, they're saying that they struck the 3 black jurors. On
purpose.
Yeah, I have 2 attorneys coming up there to go.
On purpose. Well, they gave their reasons, and that's what happened. I mean, on purpose. One of them didn't think they could be, had a preconceived notion about the case. So
going to talk about that, but yeah, it was an all-white jury, and again,
it wasn't all white. 5 of the jurors were people of color, but we remember people of color doesn't just mean black people.
Death is tragic, as you said.
Sure.
And nobody's wishing anything upon, anything bad upon the family of the.
And I don't know that it matters. Which is what I don't understand. I don't think that it matters, the composition of the jury, if the jury gets the case correct. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think there's nothing in this case originally when it started that made this a racial case, except for the fact that the 2 people had different levels of melanin. But it wasn't a racial incident in any. No one's making this a racial incident. It's a multicultural team, town, whatever. No one was making it a racial incident until he was charged with murder.
Like the young man who died. But you have kids. You 17-year-olds make horrible decisions.
Right.
I'm not saying.
And a horrible decision can get you charged with murder, unfortunately. It was a horrible decision to stab somebody for pushing you and especially under Texas law.
That they should not be held accountable in some way for what they do.
But a
17-year-old in 35 years, it just doesn't sit right with me. Well, they're saying.
Now, I'm curious too, because in Texas, the defendant or accused or the now convicted, apparently you have a choice of whether or not you want the jury to determine your sentence versus a judge determining your sentence. And for whatever reason, in this case, they said they wanted the jury to determine the sentence, which I'm curious about. I don't know. Maybe they expected that a juror would be more lenient. I'm not sure why. 17, and he wasn't 17 when this happened. He was 18 when this happened too. That's the other part. The victim was 17. The defendant was 18.
They struck the 3 black jurors.
Okay, that's the same quote. So Don Lemon's making that case, which is not case. Again here, pure demonic evil. Ghoul caught urinating on Austin Metcalf's grave after Carmelo conviction. This isn't AI. The black community has a serious. Well, again, now this pisses me off. Now I'm going to tell you right now. This pisses me off. The way this is framed, and this is Reverend Jordan Wells, and he is a melanated American. This isn't AI. The black community has a serious God problem. What does that even mean? Are you saying all black people? I'm tired of being lumped in with this, and I am part. If you're gonna make us this asshole has a God problem. Not black. This doesn't reflect on all of the black community. There's 47 million black people in the United States. No, it doesn't reflect on me at all because I think this is abhorrent. This is straight up satanic witness. This is the most demonic thing I've seen. Some broken, soulless ghoul actually filled himself urinating on Austin Metcalf's grave. No respect for the dead, no fear of God, just pure evil on full display. We can't keep ignoring that spiritual sickness. Yeah, this motherfucker's a fucking demon, as far as I'm concerned. And I am of that black community. So some of the shit that people say just pisses me off. Yeah, that guy's a fucking asshole demon motherfucker. Fuck that motherfucker. Don't do that shit. Carmelo. Oh, here's the other thing too. Now, so that Give Send Go account that the Anthony family got, they raised between $625,000 to $650,000 for legal defense, and apparently used it mostly for security and expenses, their own expenses. So now they're going to want to appeal the verdict. He has declared himself penniless, destitute, indigent person who is too poor to employ a counsel. Now, that's interesting because right now he's Carmelo Anthony's 19 years old. He's an adult. But the Carmelo Anthony family did raise $650,000, which has been paid out. And now that he's been convicted, the account was shut down. The family had been paid out over this last year. Okay. I don't understand and also they used a public defender in the case this few weeks ago. They used why are they using a public defender if their appeal for money was to help for the defense fund for their son? That's a problem, I think. I mean, that's a problem just morally in my account. And also people, like I said, more people are trying to help them, sending them money and shit. Here's what the parents said about this. I'm scrolling down these. These are going to come in a random order just because I'm just scrolling and finding them. They believe their son did not get a fair trial.
Our son went to prison because white people are racist.
I don't know if this is real. That voice that's on here, I'm not sure if this is real. But if it is real, then that's silly. It has nothing to do with racism. I don't think that sounds like AI to me. Now, let me see here. Anthony's mother and grandmother shot a racist after leaving court following his murder conviction, but did not say their son went to prison because white people are racist. Carmelo Anthony's parents did not make this statement. In interviews, his mother stated and he acted in self-defense, and his father questioned if the trial's outcome would have been the same had the jury been all white. Yeah, that's AI. That's AI. That's someone took that picture of them and made that claim. So stop putting bullshit on the internet. Now, here's interesting. Let's see. Oh, here's another clip from that Don Lemon interview with D.L. Hughley.
Listen, if you asking me, I don't think that all white people should be able to do anything in secret at all. I don't think they should have. I don't think they should be able to have drapes or curtains. Everything should be clear, because anytime.
This is regarding the jury that was not all white.
Let me tell you something.
Is he being facetious? Is he just trying to make this sound funny? I don't know.
It's all white people in secret. It's bad for everybody. I think that.
Okay, he's making some humor out of it, but whatever. Carmelo Anthony now forcing him to file paperwork claiming he is penniless, destitute, and indigent in an effort to obtain free appellate lawyer despite moving into a $900,000 home and purchasing a $150,000 car and raising over $600,000. The first two parts of that are irrelevant. They're renting a home. They did buy a $150,000 Escalade a year ago, but that was prior to this case. That wasn't like, Carmelo Anthony himself. I guess he doesn't have a job or anything. What does he have? But it's still strange that they raised $600,000 and did not use that to get a actual attorney instead of using a public defender for the case. All right, here's the clip that here's the clip that's got everybody in uproar today. I mean, this is the apparently Viva Frei and Hotep Jesus were talking about this. And there's a lot. Bye, TC. Thank you for joining us today. Hotep Jesus and Viva Frei were discussing this case. And Hotep Jesus pissed off a lot of people what he said, but there's also a lot of nuance into what he said. And I understand it. And not everybody's going to understand it or going to want to understand it, but I understand it completely, what's going on with what he's saying. But here's one of these people who pissed me off. Anytime someone black says something you don't like, you start calling him low IQ or some other shit. There's all these things that you say about black people that you rarely say about anybody else, but always about black people. So you start talking about low IQ or the 1350 crime disparity, which I don't dispute, but I also using that pisses me off too, because that doesn't mean everyone in that 13%, 47 million black people in America are also committing crimes. So I'm just saying, it's stop using that unless you're using it in a way that makes sense. Because look, yes, out of 47 million people, there are a larger number of people of melanated descent that commit crimes. Okay, it's a statistic, right? And someone tried to use, the most percentage of people being acquitted of crimes is also black, but that's lying with numbers, comparing 200,000 to 200 to 15,000. But anyway, if you really are using that statistic to make a point about black on black crime, because look, crime is proximity. Yes, more black people commit crime against black people, more white people commit crimes against white people, more Asian people commit crimes against Asian people. The reason that statistics are important to me has nothing to do with who's doing crime, but the fact that the number of homicides of black people is more than 50% of all homicides. That's what I care about people dying. Not saying that all those 13% are committing all these crimes. Well, no, about a quarter of 1% commit those crimes. The other 47 whatever million that don't include that are not committing crimes. And a lot of people who do that on the internet, who are constantly bringing up black stereotypes when it comes to like that, aren't always pure at heart themselves. And it's annoying. It's annoying. Stop doing it. Yes, it's a fact, but let's understand that that's of those 13%, it's about a quarter of 1% who actually commit those crimes. And you're putting us all in a bucket saying, and the stereotype of black people, they all commit crimes. No, we don't. And a vast majority of us hate the fact that the little tiny portion that does commit crimes. We don't condone it. But there's a loud group that will go out there and protest and say, he's being railroaded because he's black. I acknowledge that. I'm one of the people who said he's guilty because of the facts and the law in the state of Texas. But I know that some people are going to, if you can, again, often victimhood has currency too. And a lot of people like to play off the currency of victimhood, but not Hotep Jesus when he's talking about what he's talking about here. So this idiot starts out with, I hope you are waking up to the reality that you cannot reason with 85 AQ populations. Well, first of all, I've known Hotep Jesus for about 10 years now, and he's far from a low IQ. This is one smart motherfucker, and you mess with him at your peril. You may not like what he says, but you never claim that he is dumb. He is an incredibly well-read person and probably can rattle off more facts about history and life and whatever than anyone I know. And also knowing about having knowledge of finance and economics. He's brilliant. So don't judge book just by a stereotype. But this is the clip that has got people really going, because this is I don't know if he posted himself or this is Viva posted. They posted the same part. So here it is.
We have to teach our children.
Now, again, this is a clip from an entire thing, so there's a lot more nuance on both ends of this, but listen to it carefully.
We have to teach our children to keep their hands to themselves, because potentially a black person might stab you. Don't you think that's a good lesson to teach your children?
It's a good lesson, Hotep, if you're trying to perpetuate the worst stereotypes that people out there say in terms of what to do when you're around certain demographics.
I'm pretty sure if we look at social media, that stereotype already exists. Elon pushes it every day. So
now, listen to what he just said there. Hello, what up, Rob Banks? What up? Listen to what he just said there, because that's important. That's an important point, because we've been watching the internet over the last few days. And if you go on, especially on X, you go on X, and you see a lot of the conservatives of the unmelanated variety, which I hate fucking categories. But there are some particular shit-stirring conservatives, and I'll say conservatives, who are going to miss that point, and they're the ones doing this. They try to make that case every day. Anyone on the internet, for the most part, who brings up the 1350 case, even though, look, and I am not denying that statistic. I'm not denying it. And the reason I don't deny it is because it correlates with, and that by the way, that 1350 statistic is not all crime. It's violent crime. And murders in particular. And it correlates with the victim survey, because more than 50% of all murder victims are also black. So that correlates. I mean, if people have crime in proximity to where they are, that's where it is. So that I understand the statistic's not the problem, but the way people use the statistic as a cudgel against people with of the melanated variety. They use that as a cudgel, as if all 13% of people like me are out there killing people when it's less than 1/4%. The 1/4%, fuck all them people too, out there killing people. And killing each other, for the most part, for the very vast majority, killing each other. Okay? Anyway, but that point's very important. He's talking about something, 0.2%. Yeah, it's more like 0.2%. Well, that's just barely over 1/4%. It's easier for me to just say 1/4%. Or not, yeah. So anyway, no, 0.2 would be 20%, not 20%. 0.2%, you mean there, Banks? You meant 0.2%, which 1/4% is 0.25% of percent. So, yeah, make sure you don't forget that zero. The way you wrote it is 20%. All right. Hi, Jen T, by the way, also. Welcome. So anyway, that point, I'm gonna play it again. The point he makes here is key to where he's coming from right now.
Hotep, if you're trying to perpetuate the worst stereotypes that people out there say in terms of what to do when you're around certain demographics.
Listen to this again, because this is where he's coming from with this entire conversation, because we're watching the internet do exactly what he's talking about, and Viva doesn't catch that. Viva doesn't catch the nuance of this. And so Hotep just goes kind of scorched earth on this too. But that's where he's coming from, because when you go on the internet and everyone's talking about how fucked up black people are, it's like, oh, whoa. My son would never stab somebody. Wouldn't even think about it. My son would have never taken a knife to school. Anyway, listen.
I'm pretty sure if we look at social media, that stereotype already exists. Elon pushes it every day. So let's not act like I'm making it up.
He's magnifying the stereotype in this discussion.
Well, no, you're not making it up. You're perpetuating it.
Yes, I am, because that's how we operate.
Well, who's the we?
Black people. We have a fuck around and find out policy. Don't start no shit, won't be no shit. Keep your hands to yourself because we might hurt you. That is evident, and we are not apologetic about that.
Now, that sounds kind of harsh, doesn't it? That sounds harsh. Is that human nature in some ways? Like, you should be worried about anybody that you fuck with, right? Like, you go out in the street and you start an argument with some dude, some white dude. You don't know him from Adam. They might be an MMA superstar, and you touch them and they fuck you up. It's not just black people, but it's, again. No, he did not hurt him. He did kill him, and that's not. He's not excusing that at all. I guarantee you, he's not excusing killing somebody or even stabbing somebody.
That is a stereotype, and stereotypes.
Again, he's talking about a stereotype.
Just like you wouldn't walk into a tiger cage and mess with a tiger because it'll bite your head off. You don't want to fuck with black people because we might fucking kill you. I'm not afraid of the stereotype. Whether you want to teach your kids the stereotype or not doesn't matter to me. But I would tell my children.
No, he's not a tiger. I know you're not a tiger. I'm not in a cage either. I'm not going into a super controlled place where I might get killed. We get that, okay? But again, you gotta listen. You gotta get to the nuance of this. I caught it immediately.
White, black, Latino, Asian. Don't put your hands on people unless it's in self-defense. That's where the conversation starts with me. Had Austin Metcalf had his father around. But his father was beating on his wife, unfortunately.
Okay, I don't know why. I don't know why he went there. I haven't heard anything about that. So he went somewhere else.
Had his father been around, he could have taught him to keep.
Because that's why Austin got in a fight with his dad because he was treating his mother poorly. Anyway.
His hands to himself, but obviously he learned from his father not to keep his hands to himself. That's why I say we need to have that talk with our children. Again, you won't agree to that, and that's problematic.
I won't agree to that. It's always best to keep.
Who started it? The kid who was asked to leave or the kid doing the asking? They're not talking about the case itself, okay? And again, part of the reason that Carmelo Anthony's going to jail is certainly he, based on witness testimony, that's the only thing I can go by. I wasn't there, but based on witness testimony, he egged him on with the touch me and find out. Okay. And, young testosterone laden men certainly are not going to let a challenge like that go by. So he touched him. Now, the reason he's going to jail is because when he said that, he had his hand on a knife hidden in his backpack that no one knew about. And then he basically, that was not a premonition, but anything, of things to come. Touch, stab, dead. So anyway, who decides when the shit starts? Should Austin have pushed him? Should Austin have pushed him? No. But the reaction was far beyond self-defense. And I've said that from the beginning. Anyway.
Your hands to yourself to avoid conflict. We can all agree with that. If your point is to say it's always best to avoid conflict with us because we will fucking kill you if we don't like the way you touched us, congrats on setting relations back 100 years by confirming the worst stereotypes that anybody's ever had. And by the way, when Scott Adams said what he said, well, you don't think so, but and maybe if you want to talk about statistical overrepresentation when it comes to crime, it's that mentality that actually contributes to that statistical overrepresentation. And maybe you should be focusing on the right lessons for your community as opposed to what you think is.
Now, this irritates me a little bit with Viva, but I understand what he's trying to say. I don't know how you still a morality or whatever he's trying to say into a community. I wish we could. I sure fucking wish we could. I sure fucking wish we could. I don't know how you expect to do that. And I don't. It is. And also, I have another clip that I've seen that I haven't seen yet, but we'll watch that too. There's a lesson. Obviously, don't touch anybody. And then the other lesson is, if somebody touches you, don't stab them because they might die. Look, let me bring this thought in here, because I want to ask this to somebody who is really saying, well, Anthony did nothing wrong. He shouldn't have been charged with murder. If Carmelo Anthony would have had, and I'm going to do this hypothetical stuff too, if Carmelo Anthony would have had a pistol in his backpack, and when Austin pushed him, he would have put out the pistol and shot him. Would they have then said, "Oh, this is not murder"? Would they have then said, "This is self-defense"? Is that self-defense? So it's to say, it's like you're doing something potentially deadly for someone touching you or even pushing you, after you told them, touch me and see what happens. That's why, and some of this discussion loses me, and I think with Hotep Jeeves even. What if that had been a pistol and he pulled out a .45 and shot him in the chest instead of stabbed him with a knife? Does that make a difference? Would that be murder then? That's the only question that I was thinking about that yesterday afternoon when I was listening to some of this bullshit on not this bullshit, but just everyone talking about this on social media and shit, especially some of the black people who are defending Carmelo Anthony and saying, well, hey, it was an all-white jury. Well, it wasn't an all-white jury, blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
The white right lessons for the white community.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Here, let me go back to Viva's question here.
Statistical overrepresentation when it comes to crime,
right?
It's that mentality that actually contributes to that statistical overrepresentation, and maybe you should be focusing
because of the honor culture, or is it honor culture where someone you're allowed to get in a confrontation with someone who insults your honor or whatever? I don't know. Dawg Knight, they would have called it a starter pistol and not a real gun, kind of like what they did with the pocket knife and the cleat sharpener. It's funny. There's some people who are trying to say that he had a cleat sharpener, not a knife. And I say, well, wait a minute. Does that even matter? If it's a cleat sharpener or a knife, does it matter? If you stab somebody in the chest and they die, you still killed them with a instrument that is unnatural to your foreign, that's foreign to your hand. So what the fuck difference does it make? It was a clean sharpener. It was a sharp pencil. If it was, what? Does it matter? God damn. Banks, the one question I still have after all of this is, why wasn't Anthony with the rest of his team? My kid did track, and he was always with his teammates or in their area on the bleachers. Yeah, I that too. And why, when you're obviously in the area of the other team and they have their tent up, and you're just, someone asked, you got some people ask you, come on, go. We're not allowed to have other people in our tent. That would have been the simple thing. Hey man, we're not allowed to have people in our tent. You mind finding your team or some shit? I don't know, but that is also, as much as I have that question, it's also relevant too. The why he was there, even kind of the why they asked him to leave, because a lot of people are making a big deal. Well, he was trespassing in their space. Okay, that doesn't change the actions between the two boys, though. Look, I guarantee you that there is no municipal, state, or federal law that Anthony could have been fined with or criminally processed for being in the wrong set of bleachers, okay? But the interaction and the action and reaction between Austin and whatever the kid's, my brain's not working, Carmelo Anthony, That's the only thing that really matters. Those 5 seconds of action and reaction is the only thing that really matters. The other stuff is peripheral. That's interesting, and but doesn't really have any bearing on whether or not this was a murder or not. But anyway, back to Hotep Jesus.
The right lessons for your community, as opposed to the what you think is the right lessons for the white community.
I'm glad you brought that up. Because I have no interest in telling black people to turn into pussies. No,
I'm a little. I disagree with. I understand where he's going here, but are you teaching your kids to react to someone pushing you by stabbing with a knife? I don't think you're telling them to do that. That's not being a pussy. That's just learning how to de-escalate things. I think he might have said something about teaching how to de-escalate more than being a pussy. But anyway, listen, he's egging Viva on here though.
We are violent people. Humans are violent people.
Humans are violent people. Yes.
Seen that all throughout history. If white people want to die because they're putting their hands on the people, you can teach your people to be peaceful. I'm not telling black people to be peaceful. I'm not telling black people to lay down and let people push them.
Now, this is again, here's where I'm going to disagree. It's not about being pushed or being it's not about being attacked. And also the level of your attack is important too, or how to de-escalate is important too.
We're not doing that. That's what you white people like to do.
And again, I also don't like people. I don't like, what's the word I was going to use? I'm sorry. I'm blanking on the word I'm going to use. Not categorizing, not categorizing.
We're not doing
I'll
that.
think in a minute.
So no, if you guys have a stereotype and it's a stereotype 13 and 50.
Kind of not communizing. There's a word for it. I can't think of it. I'm breaking out.
It exists all throughout social media. Everybody's talking about it nowadays, especially now with this trial. I'm not here to fight that. You can think it's wrong. I believe it's right. I believe in defending myself and if it has to escalate, then it is what it is.
Yeah. There was but problem here is the escalation was far beyond reasonable. And the escalation is what gets people thrown in jail. The escalation over a small thing. Collectivizing. That's what I meant. Collectivizing. Collectivizing the response. Both of them. Well, collectivizing what all white people should learn and collectivizing what all black people should learn and whatnot. That doesn't make sense because I'm not collectivizing any of my, I don't want to tell people that, oh, well, you see someone who looks like this and they're going to stab you. Well, that ain't true. That ain't true. I would teach people how to de-escalate confrontation. That's for sure. Let's scroll down here some more. We've already seen one. Oh, this guy. Here's another one. Now, this is another one where apparently not everyone who talks about this knows what the fuck they're talking about or the case. Here's another all-white jury guy. Now, listen to this.
If Carmelo Anthony had been white, not only would he have not been convicted, there'd have never been charges.
How do you know? How do you know that? He's saying there'd be no charges if Carmelo Anthony had been white. So if Carmelo Anthony was white and he killed Austin Metcalf, who's white, they would say there'd be no charges for the reaction of stabbing a kid in the chest with a knife and he dies and he runs away. He'd say there'd be no charges. How so?
This is Old Texas Paul. Hope your coffee's as good as mine.
Yeah, you're more.
Well, I hope it's better. I really do. Whole thing was a goddamn tragedy, and it was started by the kid that died. But
so let's say that's true, because the first person who touched somebody, but is the one who made first contact, even if there was a little egging on. Because again, you can't goad somebody into doing something and then stab them and call it self-defense. That's Texas law. We'll go into that in a minute too. And if both kids were black, it would never have made the news. No. If they were same race, or even if it was a white kid who killed a black kid, it may have made the news if it was a white kid who killed a black kid, because all the activists would be out there. If both kids were the same race, probably wouldn't have made anything but local news. Made national news because of the race of the kids. Black, white stuff just sells and gets people riled up and causes emotions. And it sells clicks. Very much sells clicks. Let's go back a little bit on this dude.
Whole thing was a goddamn tragedy, and it was started by the kid that died. But
well, obviously then you didn't listen to the reporting on the trial. You did not listen to the reporting on the trial. Okay. Started is a really interesting way to put it.
If Carmelo Anthony had been white and the other kid had been black, these same people that are calling Carmelo Anthony a murderer would be celebrating him all over social media.
Would they now? That's interesting. How so? If you had the exact same trial, exact same witnesses saying the exact same things, why would they be calling him a hero? You don't know that. You're making an assumption based on what?
As standing up. Yeah. Young man, 14-year-old man by the name of
now listen to this, because this is this part made me laugh, because he's going to talk about the Chow case. If you're not familiar with the Chow case, in South Carolina, a man, Chow, I think he's Chinese, or I don't know if Chow's a Chinese or Korean name. Anyway, thought a kid was stealing from his store, chased him down with a gun. Apparently the kid pointed a gun at him as he was being chased, and Chow shot him, and he was acquitted of murder because he was self-defense, because apparently the kid had a gun. And so that's why he was acquitted. The kid had a gun. I don't know the facts of that case other than what I hear on the internet, and the internet is bullshit. But listen to what this man says about that case. Mr. Chow, a Chinese man.
Carmack Belton was his last name. Was chased down in South Carolina. Chased. The guy had to chase him and shot him in the back. Guy that shot him was white. Belton was black.
Now, Mr. Chow, I guess, is white now. Anyone who's not black is white to some people. But also, there's always a danger. There's always a danger of bringing up one case and comparing it to another. Are any of the fact patterns in these two cases remotely similar? Because a lot of people are saying, well, Kyle Rittenhouse got acquitted. Are any of the fact patterns in these two cases remotely similar? They're not even in the same fucking state, first of all. And they're completely different incidents. But what does that one have to do with the other? Are there cases in the United States where someone claimed self-defense and that was black that won their case? Hell, I remember around the same time the Kyle Rittenhouse case happened, there was a young black man who shot at cops who were shooting at him. He didn't know that they were cops, but he hit one of them, and he went to trial, a young black man shot a cop and won at trial because of self-defense. He didn't know they were cops. He didn't know who was shooting at him. And he won his case because of self-defense. So can we compare that case to the Austin and Anthony case? No, because they're still different cases. They have nothing to do with each other. So you don't know shit about whether or not they have nothing in common.
That jury said self-defense.
So what? A completely different case, circumstances, people, state, region, maybe even different laws on self-defense. What do the two cases have to do with each other? Nothing. And what was that jury? Was that an all-white jury too? Do you even know? Or not an all-white jury, because certainly the Carmelo Anthony case was not an all-white jury. What did the two cases have in common? Nothing at all. Nothing at all, you dumbass.
Because he was white.
Because who was white? Mr. Chow? Mr. Chow, the Chinese guy, is white. Oh, Lord.
The only reason Carmelo Anthony was convicted was because we are a broken, fucking, bigoted country, and Carmelo Anthony was black. Any other way you slice this, it would have been self-defense.
No, it wouldn't have. Not under Texas law.
We are that fucking broken.
No, it wouldn't have been. I doubt it. Oh, man. Let's see here. Let's scroll down a little more. Is there more? Let me go to the clip that I caught that popped up in my feed this morning, because I haven't watched it, but we're going to watch it. Just going to watch it cold. Again, Hotep Jesus talking about this last night on Hotep's Been Told You. And at least from what I'm reading here, let me read the note here first. Hotep Jesus went off on red woke conservatives, woke right, and didn't hold back. And when he's talking about the woke right, he's talking about the people on the right who also have a victim mentality on certain things. That's what he's talking about. He said this was never about Carmelo Anthony or Austin Metcalf. What's actually happening is red whites, is what he calls the woke conservatives, are being exposed for the racist they are. It's always been about race, and HJ is not going to allow them to drag the likeness of black kids across the internet. Because remember, 0.2% according to Banks. He's not about to let black people to be represented by fake black voices like Roland Martin, Jasmine Crockett, or Kamala Harris. He's always stood for righteousness, whether black or right. But here's what red whites completely missed. They could be using this case to slowly strip away your rights. And by that meaning for be able to carry any kind of weapon. You should be able to carry a knife or gun anywhere, including school zones. These laws were created by a long history of both Democrat and Republican white politicians, specifically designed to disarm black people. Why did Carmelo have a knife? Because it's America and it's his right. On school property, it's a whole minor on school property. That maybe it's questionable, but whatever. Next thing you know, you can't have a weapon anywhere, and red whites are cheering it on without seeing the play. Well, seeing the play from the left, because the left will use this to disarm everybody. That's what I think he's saying. And the reason they can't see it, deep down in their hearts, they're actually liberals. HJ called it all the way. So let's watch the clip. This will be fascinating. because I'm always fascinated about my friend HJ here.
Having a platform. The point of this shit bigger than Carmelo Anthony. This shit ain't even hardly about Carmelo Anthony. It has never been about Carmelo Anthony. Not for the woke right and not for me. That just happens to be the battleground. That's what people don't understand about this whole situation. Everybody's focused on Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. You know what's happening right now? Red Whites is being exposed for the racists that they are. They're being exposed for the dishonest people that they are. The race conversation's being shaken up and the truth is coming to the surface and emotions are being riled up, mostly created by the elites to get us arguing over some bullshit. But what I'm not gonna do is allow the Red Whites to just drag the likeness of a black man across the internet. Not gonna do it. When it was the guy that Daniel Penny killed, man, you can have that. I'll stand with Daniel Penny. When it was the black guy that got shot by Rittenhouse, you can have that. I don't fuck with them fucking leftists. Fuck him. When it was George Floyd, the fentanyl addict, I ain't defending him. I'm not defending him. But when I see a black kid being approached in Texas by a bunch of white boys.
Okay, now, see, again, this is where I will diverge slightly because that's not what the case is about. But let's see where he goes.
That's bigger than him? And he's terrified for his life?
Now. Where is the evidence he was terrified for his life? This is where I'm going to diverge right now with my friend. There is zero evidence that Carmelo Anthony was terrified for his life. How was he terrified for his life? He wasn't terrified for his life. And this is the mistake Anthony Brian Logan made the other day, saying that he was terrified for his life. So, the black guy, the black dude with Rittenhouse was the only guy who was smart enough to back off when he pointed at. And Rittenhouse didn't shoot the black guy. He shot up 3 white guys. Anyway, this is a mistake right here that, tell me what testimony by anybody said that Carmelo Anthony was terrified for his life because of a bunch of white guys ganging up on him. That's not in the trial. And in fact, I would say that if someone tells you to move and you reach in your bag and you hand your hand on a knife and you say the phrase, "Touch me and see what happens," is that showing that you are terrified for your life? This is a mistake. Usually he doesn't make these kinds of mistakes, but this time I think he did.
We still don't even know if he stabbed him. That's how.
What? We still don't know if he stabbed him. We've had a court case that the kid admitted to the police when he got him that he stabbed. What are you talking? I'm not sure what he's talking about here.
The fentanyl addict, I ain't defending him. I'm not defending him. But when I see a black kid being approached in Texas by a bunch of white boys that's bigger than him, and he's terrified for his life.
No evidence of that.
We still don't even know if he stabbed him.
There is evidence that he stabbed him. Eyewitness reports that he stabbed him. The self-confessed at the scene of the crime when he was apprehended said, "I did it." Is he okay? What do you mean there's no evidence that he stabbed? Okay, I'm confused. I'm super confused now. There was a trial and that everything they reported about the trial, all the witnesses on both sides, all the defense and the prosecution witnesses said he stabbed him. How do you have a self-defense case if you didn't stab somebody? That's the danger of having a self-defense case sometimes. If you're saying you did it in self-defense, you did it. You can't say it's self-defense if you didn't do it. I'm not sure where he got that. That's weird. This is from last night. Anyway,
That's how terrible the defense was. But also,
oh, he's saying that's how terrible the defense was. Well, yeah, he had a public defender. That's the problem with the family raising all that money and not hiring a better lawyer. Would a high-profile, better lawyer have done better defending Carmelo Anthony? Maybe. But right now, in the case, according to the testimony of both the prosecution and defense witnesses, and the fact that you're bringing up self-defense, you can't have self-defense for something you didn't do. So, I can't believe, this is not like Hotep Jesus to me. This is not like Hotep Jesus to get that something so incredibly wrong. I'm shocked.
Sit back and just say nothing with my platform. That's the point of having a platform. The point of having a platform is
it's not even disputed that Carmelo Anthony stabbed him. And even HJ, you've even said it yourself. If someone touched you, a black person might kill you. What? I don't know what he's on last night.
To be able to control conversation, to be a part of the conversation, to be a part of history. When Scott Adams got canceled, who did he talk to?
Hotep Jesus.
When Scott Adams got canceled for calling black people violent, who did he talk to?
Hotep Jesus.
He spoke to me. R.I.P. Scott Adams, he spoke to me.
Hotep Jesus.
Because I'm the algorithm. And we got certain voices out here. We got the red, white voices. Then we got the blue, black voices. Like Roly-Poly Martin. You think I'm about to let black people be represented by the blue blacks? You think I'm going to let black people be represented by the voice of Jasmine Crockett, who didn't say shit about Carmelo Anthony until after the fact? You think I'm going to let black people be represented by the voice of Kamala Harris? Roly-Poly Martin? These little dick fake black motherfuckers? Nah, motherfucker, not on my watch. Not on my watch. I've always stood for righteousness, whether white, black, or whatever. When Daniel Penny went down, I said, I hope he get off. When Kyle Rittenhouse went down, I said, I hope he get off. But when I saw this case, I was like, yo, I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one. This is starting to look like self-defense. When I read the police report.
Until we listened to the witnesses. This is another reason why I didn't cover the case. Hardly at all when it was pending, because I didn't know. Now that I've seen the witnesses and everything aligned with everything that we heard in the very beginning, doesn't look like self-defense to me. Not by Texas law. You can't be afraid for your life by challenging someone to do something to you. That's not showing fear for your life. That's showing that you're ready to stab somebody if somebody even as much grazes your shoulder. And that's what happened. Whether it was a push, a hard push, or a soft push, you challenge somebody to do something and see what happens. That is not any indication of fear for your life. And also, there was no one ganging up on him because his brother had to come over after he was stabbed. He wasn't even nearby. I can't believe you missed that part. But you know what? There's so much other embellishments to this case going around on the internet that you may hear something that wasn't said. Maybe that's the case here. Maybe you were listening to ABL. No. No. So I'm surprised he got this so wrong.
What? I said this is looking like self-defense.
I don't know how.
I said that from the very beginning.
I don't know how.
And the only reason why I got involved is not because of the story itself. It was because the red whites are trying to drag the likeness of black men across the internet.
That's the part that pisses me off, too. Okay, again. 1350. I fucking never stabbed any in my life. I don't even carry a knife. I have a knife. I don't ever carry it. I had it in my backpack once. I forgot it was there. Oh, there it is. I didn't even know where it was. That's a little like for hunting and shit. When you're out hunting, you got to cut up something. But I don't carry a knife. And I'll tell you what, because you're dragging when you try to drag all black people into something, and when they're not all like that, it kind of pisses me off. But I understand that part anyway.
Because red whites want to pretend like there's some fucking victims.
Looked like self-defense when people watched the video and lied about what they saw, talking about he was getting mobbed by a group. Yeah, there are people out there saying that he got ganged up on and there's 4 people beating on him and shit. That never happened. That's the problem. That was in the trial. If you follow trials, you'll know that.
Because they want to pretend like they care about Austin Metcalf. Not on my watch. I got way too much power to let some shit like that happen.
And they do. I mean, do they care about Austin Metcalf or not? I care about the victim of any crime, I guess, but that's not here or there. But if you go on X, you see a lot of using their platforms on this. Take Elijah Schaefer, for example. He's down there and he's filming and people are chirping at him and, using the phrase chimp it out. I hate that phrase, by the way. And I saw some of you the other day use it because they were chimping out. Unless you're using that phrase for every time there's some fuckery. I only see people using it for fuckery from black people. I didn't see anyone using chimping out, during the Palestinian riots. I didn't see anyone using chimping out during the Renee Good or fucking petty fucking bullshit. Unless you're going to use that term for everybody, stop fucking using it. It's unfortunately, it's one of those things that have been very racialized over the history of the 20th century, let's say, and beyond. So anyway, but whatever.
This knife is no joke. If it goes in your heart, you die. This knife could save a life or it could take a life. But you know what this knife represents? This knife represents the Second Amendment. And what red whites don't know is that they could use this case right here to slowly take your rights away.
This is a decent point. This is a decent point. Don't let the liberals use this case to take your Second Amendment away. And that's because, again, I say, if it were a gun, would you say this was self-defense? That's the part I need to ask. If it were a gun and he shot, Austin Metcalf in the chest with a .45 instead of stabbing him, would that be self-defense? Oh, the knife. It was just a little knife. It was just a cleat sharpener. What if it's a shotgun or a longsword to Austin Metcalf's chest? Would that have been self-defense? I'm gonna guess you're gonna say no. That's overkill. So is stabbing someone in the chest with a knife. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Go straight to jail.
Second Amendment absolutionists. That means you should be able to carry your gun, your knife, any and every fucking where.
This is a completely different argument, but based on the case.
Including a school zone. You know who
it's
created
not about
these?
whether he could carry it or not, whether he should have used it or not.
Yes, thank you, Hotep, Uncle Hotep, for bringing that up. Again, this is not about whether or not he's carrying it. Again, it's how he used it. If he used it, how he used it. He's going to yell at. Watch, he's going to yell at Uncle Hotep for that.
Created these fucking
Stop trying to
zones.
fucking conflate the argument. It's not whether he can carry it or not. It's whether he should have used it or not in that
take your
situation.
arms, them
But
fucking
you want to
leftists,
conflate that
them
because
fucking
you know it's
liberals,
bullshit.
them fucking Democrats. That's who created these laws. 2A rights taken away because of racism. The
He's
Munn
not getting
Act,
charged for
the
carrying
Munn
a
Act
deadly weapon.
from Ronald Reagan. We got a long history in this country of white people and racists from the Democrat and Republican Party trying to disarm black people and say.
Yeah, this is while it's maybe a good argument for a different topic, has nothing to do with the case. It's how he used it, not the fact that he was carrying it. If he'd had that knife and never used it, and nobody knew about the knife, or even if somebody did know about the knife but he never used it, this would be a whole different case. It's what he did with it. If he had been carrying a .45 and shot Austin Metcalf in the chest and killed him, it's not a Second Amendment issue. It's your reaction to someone touching you issue, and whether or not it was appropriate in that case after you told him to touch me and see what happens. And that's what HJ's missing here.
Hey, why does he have a knife? Why does he have a knife?
Yeah, again, and I agree. The why does he have a knife? Completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. It's what he did with the knife in that situation. It has nothing to do with why he had the knife. I don't care. I don't care why he had the knife. It was in his backpack. I don't care why he had the knife. If he had never been caught with the knife, no one would have been talking about the knife. It's what he did with the knife.
He has a knife because it's fucking America. That's why he has a knife. That's why I got a knife. That's why I got guns. Because it's America.
Okay.
It's fucking America.
Irrelevant.
America was built on this shit. And you got red whites out here acting like fucking liberals trying to get our rights taken away. And they don't see how you could take one story and use it to take your fucking rights away. That's how they do this shit. It's literally communism in front of your face. It's far beyond socialism. I've said this a million times.
He took this way too far. He took this into a completely different topic. Because that again, I mean, I understand the point, I understand. Someone will use this to say why someone should not be able to have this type of, instrument. I understand that, but that has nothing to do with the case. You kind of went on a tangent here.
You got the far beyond socialist. Icon is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and the one before that was a turtle because they take away your rights slowly. So 1 minute it's, you can't have a gun or a knife in a school zone. Next thing you know, it's, you can't have a gun or a knife at a track meet. Soon, it's, you can't have a gun or a knife anywhere. And red whites don't see the play. You know why? Because white people are actually mostly liberals.
And again, he is collectivizing based on a almost irrelevant demographic.
They vote Republican, but in their heart, they're dying, bleeding, fucking progressive liberals and always have been. That's why they got the name Karen. Let me cook.
All right. Interesting. But I think he completely missed the point on the trial because
this shit.
The idea that was self-defense is, what the hell happened there? Hang on. I want to leave that up. No, I lost that. I was going to leave that in the clips for y'all. I think I blew it. This refreshed and it's gone. All right. Well, I was gonna put that in the links today. So anyway, let's get to Friday Q&A because it's time, ladies and gentlemen. That's your favorite part of the week. There's more articles about this I opened up, but I'm not going to get to them. Or maybe I'll do them after Q&A. But it's Friday Q&A! Thank you, everybody who are participating in Friday Q&A today. I appreciate you for dropping questions in the box. Looks like it's just 2 people, but you know what? 2 is better than 0. So, welcome to Friday Q&A, where you ask questions, and I try to answer them the best I can. If they're serious, I'll answer them seriously. If they are asinine, I can't even say it. I'll answer them in a appropriate asinine way. So there you go. Let's do Friday Q&A. The first question is a surprise. It comes from Attack Alpaca, and you get the bell for having the first question. Attack Alpaca asks, if your body allowed you to eat one food without any negative consequences, what food would you pick? Well, that's interesting. Does it have to be a food? It would, it'd probably be just some potato chips and some good old Top the Tater from whatever the farm it is that makes it. Top the Tater, I didn't realize was unique to the Midwest, almost Minnesota, basically. There's a dairy here that makes a very good sour cream and chive dip that everyone around here eats. It's a big thing. Some people eat it with Old Dutch Ripple chips, although I prefer just good old-fashioned Lay's potato chips. If I could eat that nonstop, I would be very happy, and it would be my staple. Avocado Diabli asks, if you purchased a few thousand chia pets and were going to fly to New York City to scale the Statue of Liberty and smear the gunk on her face so she grew a beard, would you tell anyone what airline you would fly? Well, to fly to New York, I would use Delta. I'm just telling you right now, I would use Delta Airline. I don't know how I'd get all the chia pet seeds on the airplane, or how I would get it to stick to the Lady Liberty's face. But yes, I'm just telling you right now, I would fly good old Delta because they have great nonstop service to New York City from Minneapolis, St. Paul. There's a third person who asked a question. Never mind, I lied. Third question today is from Select a Boy. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, boy.
Select a Boy asks, what's the one thing you can't afford to have, yet at the same time can't afford to lose? What is the same thing that you can't afford to have, yet at the same time you can't afford to lose? Well, probably my dignity. I mean, if I had it, I wouldn't be able to afford to lose it. You know, like if I had a big old boat or something, I don't know. Time is one. You can never afford to have it because you can't buy time, but you can't afford to lose it either. A court case. Oh, I gotcha. That's the trick question. What's the thing you can't afford to have, yet at the same time can't afford to lose? Court case. Yes, that is a very good answer. My goodness. It took me a minute to understand the question, and now that I saw you mention it in the chat, there we go. That's a good one. All right, Avocado Diabli asks, if you're going to have an extra knee added to one of your legs, do you think it would work better halfway up your thigh or halfway up your shin? Definitely thigh, like that in the middle of your shin, I think would be a better. If you're going to have a third knee, that would seem to be. Yeah, I don't like the idea of having. Yeah, you'd have to have it lower extremities. And also because you use it to propel a lot faster. I don't know. Above your thigh, you need that thigh for the strength of the jumping and shit. So there you go. That's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. Avocado Diabli asks, if all the facts of the Carmelo Anthony case were the same, but Austin Metcalf had shown him a photo of that thumbnail of Adam Schiff before he had been stabbed, would your opinion of his guilt change? Yes, he would be not guilty because fuck that fucking Adam Schiff. Avocado Diabli asks, one day if you looked out your window and you saw hordes of ferrets in the sky parachuting down around your little Oscar Mayer Wiener cars, or in little Oscar Mayer Wiener cars, what would your reaction be? Well, it'd be, what the fuck is that? First of all. And then, where the fuck are they going to go when they land? That's a very important question, because if they're not coming to your house, then you're good. Unless in those little Oscar Mayer Wiener cars, they brought a bunch of little Smokies and some barbecue sauce, because I love me some little Smokies and barbecue sauce. I guess there you go. Oh, Elon Musk has become the first world's trillionaire. Well, yeah, on paper. All right, I just saw a headline over the side here. All right, let me get back to Q&A. Avocado Diabli asks, why do sports have such ridiculous rules? Half the time I expect to see a ref blow a whistle and announce number 34 using a word with 3 syllables and 2 vowels on an even day when the sun is at 42 degrees. Well, just like mortgage documents, every new rule of sports is probably triggered by a lawsuit. I don't know. They come up with some shit, though, don't they? They come up with some dumbass rules. Okay, Avocado Diabli asks, speaking of chia pets, what is the least appropriate place to smear that chia gunk? Oh, man. Well, maybe around that star on the Minnesota state flag that looks like a butthole, because then it would be a hairy butthole. Just saying. Avocado Diabli asks, so how long do you think it will be till the Sagrada Familia mysteriously burns down now that it is completed? Well, it's not completed yet. That's first of all. And in Barcelona, Spain, that thing is very sacred. And the Spaniards have been dealing with the people who you might think would burn something like that down for a long time and have a very, let's just say, not communicable, just they have a decent relationship with that. It's funny because we were in Spain, I didn't see a whole lot of mosques, and I'm surprised because, you know, during the time when the Ottoman Empire, you know, forged up into Spain and that southern, like the Iberian Peninsula, you would think there'd be a ton of mosques, but I didn't see a lot of mosques and I didn't see a lot of Muslims. It's interesting. There were some, but not a whole lot. So anyway, I don't know why I brought up Muslims. Avocados Diablo asks, if you were a Flintstones character, what would your name be? Well, it'd be P-Rock, of course. It'd be P-Rock Knight. P-Rock Knight. That's all it could be. P-Rock Knight. Avocados Diablo asks, is it ever appropriate to attend a formal event while wearing an actual body bag? Maybe if it's an evening funeral and you're the corpse. I don't know. That's pretty weird. Okay. Avocados Diablo asks. It's all oh, there's some more. I see another name down there. Avocados Diablo asks, do you think if that same jury had found Carmelo not guilty, anyone would be complaining that it was an all-white jury, quote unquote? And why did you even take the time to write a question we know the answer to? Or why did I even take the time to write a question that we knew the answer to? Well, AD, the reason you wrote the question is because it's an interesting point of inquiry. It's an interesting point of hypothetical mastery. And so often you are the master of the hypothetical, and therefore you wrote the question. Now, to answer the question, well, fucking of course they wouldn't give a fuck. If they'd been acquitted, there'd be joy in Mudville. There'd be ladies throwing up their hands in church and fainting and all that shit. So, Avocados Diablo asks, when you bump against something, do you make when you bump against something, do you make a tinging sound like someone is ringing a bell now? No. Let's see. Here's the thing. There's really no metal touching metal inside my body. So when they cut a hole in your leg, the whole side of your leg, they cut the big old slit in the side of your leg, right? And they stretch it open, and then they pull the thing out of the joint, and then they saw that part of your femur off, and then they see the hole, and then they take a metal shiv, and they jam it down into your femur, and then they attach a ball to it. The other part up here that they took the ball out of the socket, they put in this metal thing, and they screw things into it. They screw it into your hip bone, and then they put a ceramic piece inside of that for this metal ball to jam into that socket. And so there's no metal touching any other metal. So no, I don't hear a tinging. Now, sometimes if there are magnets too close to me, that's a little uncomfortable, but no tinging sound if I bump into anything. Okay, Avocados Diablo asks, the real question I have after this entire Anthony case is, since when do kids start getting fucking tense just because it was slightly raining out? Do kids all have some kind of water allergy now? You know what? Back when I was in high school, we had like our own little team tent area that we would set up. I mean, that's back in the 80s. So it's not new. It's, now I'm never sure how they have it in the bleachers or whatnot. So, and like the fans, they just bring umbrellas. But I don't think it's nothing new. That's not a big deal. Every team has their own little team area that they're designated to sit in, and some of them bring tents to keep the sun off them. Because look, track meets are generally late in the school year, and sometimes the track season goes beyond the school year where it's getting hot in the summer. So sometimes those tents are for shade too. So there you go. Oh, there you go. Really, they made us all stand in the weather. Oh no, we had tents back when you had a tent area that you could go to for your team that your team would set up. Maybe that's just us. I don't know. They weren't really tents though. They're canopies, because tents would be silly because no one's going to sleep there. But anyway, you get the picture. Okay, where are we at here? Oh, here we go. Avocados Diabli asks. Oh wait, I skipped this one. Oh no, I didn't. I did not skip. That's the one I just read. Here we go. Avocados Diabli asks. But if I see someone carrying a knife in their hand, wearing a shirt that says, "I will stab you," can I assume they would stab me then? Let's just say that might be the person to avoid. I can't guarantee they would stab you, but I would avoid them. Carrying a knife, I will stab you. I'm avoiding you. Yes, I am avoiding you. Okay. Avocados Diabli asks, it is 3:24 p.m. Do you know where either of your hips are? Well, the hip ball that were originally attached to me are, who knows? Some human hazardous waste bin somewhere in the stratosphere. Who knows? But yeah, my hips are right here. Selected Boy asks, who do you have winning the World Cup? No idea. No idea. No idea. No idea. I wish I followed soccer that closely, but I have no idea. Is Germany's always really good, right? Germany's always good. That'd be an uneducated fucking shot in the wind to say Germany. Avocados Diabli asks, if an old gypsy woman cursed you and you would turn into cheese, what kind of cheese would you want to turn into? Asiago. Don't ask me why. I don't know. Asiago. This sounds kind of cool. That's cool. That might be the coolest cheese name. Asiago. Sounds very, very, kind of has a Spanish tint to it. You know, Asiago. I mean, that's way better than Parmesan. What a weird name for a cheese. Asiago. It's a smooth, gentle name. Asiago. I would turn into Asiago. Yeah, Asiago. Okay. Blue-Eyed Scream asks, what body part are you replacing next? Well, probably my right knee. Because the first consultation on my first hip that I got taken out and put in a new piece of metal and ceramic shit, the doctor also checked out my other hip and my knees, and the other thing that's going bad is my right knee, but who knows? Maybe I'll be able to avoid that with exercise and strengthening exercises. But right now it's not looking great. I might try a different treatment on that. We'll see. So there you go. Avocados Diabli asks, oh my goodness, this is the last question on today's Friday Q&A. Comes from Avocados Diabli. And that question is, what do they do in a hip replacement if they saw off the top of your leg and realize they cannot insert the metal part? Are you just screwed? And are you glad I did not ask this before your surgery? That is an interesting question. With today's technology of MRIs and things like that, they are able to determine the circumference of the hole and the depth before they even cut it open. It's amazing. So they have the little piece of titanium that they jam down into my femur was custom made based on those measurements. So that's it. All right. So that's it for Friday Q&A. Now I don't feel like stopping. I don't know why. I just don't feel like stopping. So we'll just catch up on a couple of new things that have popped up on the internet and see where they're at. I don't know how long this has been going. How long have I been going? I don't even know. Stream settings. Maybe it's there. It doesn't even say. Anyway, yeah, it's been over 2 hours. But anyway, let's see. I'm going to see what else pops up just on the internet on my feed here on X. Oh, by the way, oh shoot, I shouldn't have closed that. Hang on, I closed a window that I shouldn't have closed. Let's reopen the close tab. By the way, thank you to the people who've continued to share the stream. And that includes, let's see here. Well, if it shows up, there we go. All right, got a tire. Thank you, TC. Are you still here, by the way? I see that you redid the stream. Also, I got a thread that I want to read. Not a thread, but it's something someone wrote that was interesting regarding what Hotep Jesus said, which I also agree with. And then also, Mike Savage, thank you, Zyclip, who just started following me today on X. I don't know who that is, but he's the one who posted those. He posted the clips, one of the clips of Hotep Jesus, and but here's a interesting thing that someone wrote regarding what Hotep Jesus said, and I think it's also poignant, and I agree with it mostly too. Two things can be true at once two things can be true at once, and I think this is also true, and this is where I get frustrated with a lot of people who spend a lot of time talking about race shit, because I just it's who collectivize everything, and it's because it's we're not necessarily collective. We don't teach everyone or learn everything the same. We don't do everything the same just because we have similar unintended characteristics. Okay, so here it is. This woman says, or this person, I think it's a woman. I'm angry. I have spent most of my life under the apparently mistaken impression that the civil rights movement was about convincing people to stop treating me differently because I am black. This now appears to be an unfashionable position. The modern trend seems to be convincing everyone to become extremely aware of race at all times. Well, I'm going to tell you, it may be strategic for some because it's easier to divide people along racial lines or along many lines. Divide and conquer, right? But let me go back to this. The modern trend seems to be convincing everyone to become extremely aware of race at all times, preferably while yelling. I realized this while watching the reaction to the Carmelo Anthony verdict. Not the verdict itself, but the reaction. The verdict was a court proceeding. The reaction was what would happen if you fed 12 gallons of aviation fuel into a leaf blower and pointed it directly at the nation's remaining supply of racial goodwill. Yeah. Almost immediately, the internet filled with declarations that the jury was all white. This was an interesting development because it wasn't. This presents a challenge for the narrative engineers. In previous eras, a fact that contradicted your argument was considered a problem. Today, it appears to be considered a minor administrative inconvenience. The jury contained a Muslim woman, several Asians, and a Hispanic man. But apparently, they were all white. I assume this was determined using advanced academic mathematics that I am not qualified to understand. This same mathematics allows people to explain that race is a social construct right up until they need it to win an argument. Now, this happens to both on the right, left, white, black, other races. It happens everywhere, and it's funny. It can't be used until you're ready to use an argument. Then it becomes rigidly defined biological category again. Science is amazing, isn't it? Then came the claims that Austin and his friends had ganged up on Carmelo. This was also fascinating because that didn't emerge during the testimony. no matter, we live in a golden age of flexible facts, or just made up shit. I digress. See if the old facts stop producing the desired amount of outrage, new facts can be harvested from the internet and brought directly to your home. And that happened a lot in this case. Oh boy, oh boy. And then things got genuinely scary. One prominent personality announced, "You don't want to fuck with black people because we might fucking kill you." That's clearly Hotep Jesus she's talking about. And again, there is a lot of nuance in what he was saying. You may not have caught it, but I did. Now, I would like to pause here because I am black and this was extremely useful information for me. I had somehow reached adulthood without realizing I was supposed to be threatening people. Again, if you listen to the entire thing, he didn't suggest that you should be threatening people, but I understand where this idea came from. This wasn't in the handbook of racial behaviors I was issued at birth. I was under the impression that my responsibilities consisted primarily of paying taxes, worrying about my blood pressure, and trying to remember where I put my car keys. Apparently, I have instead been participating in a campaign of racial intimidation without even knowing it. And if you ask some of the people on the internet, that's all they talk about. It's funny because it mirrors a lot of what some of these, and I don't want to say it's all MAGA people either. There's a certain set of influencers who love to stoke the racial flame. And obviously, it's not just them. There's all kinds of people who want to stoke the racial flame. That the white guy in the cowboy hat who brought up a completely irrelevant case to what happened in the Carmelo Anthony case also does that. Okay, so it comes from every side and every ideology and everything. So anyway, but this explains why I keep losing my black membership card. The thing that scares me is that people say this nonsense. America has always produced loud idiots, as it's one of our greatest exports. What scares me, how many people cheer. How many people hear a statement that sounds suspiciously like a threat and decide it is wisdom? How many people hear racial tribalism and mistake it for racial solidarity? Now, if you listen to the second clip that we played of Hotep Jesus, where he's talking about Daniel Penny, he was very supportive of Daniel Penny. Kyle Rittenhouse, he didn't think Kyle Rittenhouse should have been gone to jail. He gave 3 examples. So he's not, believe me, HJ is not a tribalist guy. He hates Roland Martin, for example. He mentioned how Jasmine Crockett was a crock. So, but again, nuance. But here's the ugly truth. Every time one of these people opens their mouth, somebody who has never met me learns something about me or things that they do. That's the problem I'm having with a lot of this rhetoric on the internet. Stop collectivizing what my behavior should be. They learned that black people believe violence is justified. He made that claim. Some black people, not all. They learned that black people reject evidence. Some, not all. They learned that black people only care about race. Some, not all. They learned that black people view justice as a team sport. Some, but not all. I'm adding the sums, but not all. Not offended, not annoyed. Oh, wait. Now I get to spend my twilight years proving that I am the person they just described. This is what makes me angry. I understand your anger. And because with some of the nuance in what he was talking about is lost on everybody, most people. But me knowing and following HJ for 10 years, I've known him for 6. I went to the first Hotep Con. That was great. And I met him there, good guy, and we've been friendly ever since. And we don't always agree on everything, but we've been friendly. Now I get to spend my twilight years proving I'm not the person they just described. That is what makes me angry. Not offended, not annoyed, angry. See, the Americans in my generation, Gen X and before, worked themselves half to death trying to convince the country that we are individuals. Individuals with different opinions, different politics, different dreams, different flaws, but still regular people, not a collection of professional race hustlers. Now a collection of professional race hustlers seem determined to undo all of that so they can collect engagement on social media. And she kind of, I mean, in a way, she missed the point of what HJ was saying in some ways. And again, he went off on some miscalculated facts. The entire enterprise feels like a man setting fire to his own house because he enjoys being interviewed by the local news. The worst part is that they think they're helping. They are genuinely believe that they are making every issue about race will somehow help. I don't understand this. This is like believing that pouring bourbon into a lawnmower will improve fuel efficiency. The theory sounds questionable from the start. The results are even worse. I don't want people to fear me. I don't want people to excuse me. I don't want people to hate me. I don't want people to admire me because of my race. I want the same thing I've always wanted. I want people to look at me and just see a person. Not a demographic, not a historical grievance, not a political weapon, not a member of a tribe. Just a person. Every fucking time some loudmouth gets online and starts screaming racial identity matters more than evidence, more than character, more than truth itself, I find myself wondering how many more bridges they're planning to burn before they run out of matches. Judging by the reaction online, the answer appears to be quite a few. I got the point. I don't know how much she's ever listened to my friend. My friend who sometimes gets things wrong, and I understand the nuance of what he was going for with that much longer conversation that there's a clip from. But I don't know. I don't 100% disagree with what she's saying here. In fact, I agree with most of what she's saying here, especially the fact about, hey, I just want to be treated like that guy. I'm just that guy. I'm not anything about everybody, because there's not everything about everybody you could learn about me with. I am, but I'm, look, because I'm sure Hotep Jesus tells his kids, don't go around touching anybody, because you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. Some asshole, regardless of the melatonin content, is going to do something stupid, because people are stupid. Humans are violent. And you just got to, you got to mind your shit, I think, unfortunately, Carmelo Anthony made a terrible choice, made a stupid choice, and now he's going to pay the price as well as the person he killed. I'm not going to even say accidentally. He stabbed him on purpose. He didn't mean to kill him, I don't think. But he did, and the law in Texas. Oh, I know what I would do. Well, I know. I got another video we can watch. This one's really good regarding that case. She's getting a lot of praise for this from a wide variety of people. This article I'll definitely have in the links, which I haven't done yet. It'll be, here it is. I'll put this in the links today. I'll put it towards the end of the links if you want to see that again or share that. I've already shared it on X. I haven't shared it anywhere else. Let's do one other thing though, because I want to, some things I said about the trial itself on Wednesday. What was the last time I streamed? Thursday. I found somebody who has articulated it way better than I. And so, let me open a YouTube channel here and figure out where I had it, because I watched it yesterday. But yeah, it as far as this case goes, as far as the law in Texas is really the only thing that you need to be concerned about with this case and the facts of the case. I think it's very important that you understand how the law works in Texas. So, let me scroll through here. I believe it is. There's also a good interview of the judge after the trial. And because, by the way, it was confirmed that those pictures of him with the Metcalf family were bullshit AI slop that everyone was glomming onto. So let me open this video real quick. I'm going to pause it.
Evidence.
Oops. Hang on.
The allowance of
Why will not the pause? There we go. I wanted to pause first. And this is 13 minutes long, but I have time. I don't have to be anywhere. Fuck, let's watch it. Okay. But a lot of the points that I made about this case, not being a lawyer, I'm not a lawyer. When I was talking about ABL, Anthony Brian Logan's video about this, I feel exonerated, I guess is the word, about it because of what's going on here. So let's watch this.
On TV, I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Let's everyone just take a big, deep breath. We're going to talk about the Carmelo Anthony case. I hope this is one of the last times we talk about it. We wanted to wait a couple days and see what the fallout was. And a lot of people suddenly have become criminal law and self-defense experts.
Well, I would like to think that I nailed it, but let's find out if I nailed it.
Including some that candidly should know a little bit better.
Like this moron.
What we're going to do is our
not him.
final summation on this case, if you would. We're not trying to advocate for one side or the other, but what we are going to do is we're going to explain the reality of the situation from a legal perspective. So today, let's spend a few minutes, let's wrap this all up, and let's talk about Carmelo Anthony's two biggest problems, the facts and the law.
Ding.
Okay, America, we are talking about a case that has captured the country's attention, and it has got a lot of the country all riled up one way or the other. We're going to try to stay out of all of that, and we're going to try to treat this case and approach it with, well,
forget the
facts,
emotion,
law, common sense, things like that. The case, of course, is State of Texas versus Carmelo Anthony. Now, for all of you who tuned in for all of our live updates during the course of that trial, thank you very much. We really, really appreciate it. And I do also want to thank...
I haven't done that. This is the first time I ever saw this guy. This guy popped up on my feed. Probably because, I said something on my phone and everything on my phone became about Carmelo Anthony.
On county court for moving this trial at what is equivalent to legal light speed. What we're going to do today is we are going to take the facts as elicited during the course of testimony.
Oh my God, we're going to actually use facts? What the hell? I thought I was just supposed to listen to some idiot on the internet. Sorry.
And apply them to the law of the state of Texas.
The law? You mean not my emotions?
And what the jury was instructed so that you could see the legitimacy or therefore illegitimacy of the verdict rendered and the sentence rendered by the jury.
This sounds amazing.
Now, whenever I'm teaching self-defense laws, and self-defense laws include any use of force all the way up to the use of lethal force, in general, the force that you...
I wish I had just taken some clips out of this, but I mean, it's worth going through the 13 minutes, I think. And I probably should notify this guy that I'm using his entire video, but it's a small portion of my show. But it's important for me to show that I was right. Yes, let's find that out.
Get to use in defense of yourself, others, or property at all times needs to be 1, necessary, 2, reasonable, both subjectively and objectively, and finally, proportional. And
so, and this is where a question I would ask to my friend, Hotep Jesus, who seems to have part of the facts wrong already, or to anyone else saying that, well, he touched him. All you have to do is touch him and you could stab him. Again, the whole stabbing part, is that proportional? That's the part that it fails on. Well, it fails on all three, but that one is particular.
That last one, proportionality. It needs to be proportional to the force you are trying to repel.
If someone used force.
Now,
and that'll be in Texas law.
Get into Texas law, specifically Texas.
I forgot. See, I watched this and I couldn't remember what order he went in, but yes, here we go.
Texas Penal Code Chapter 9, specifically Section 9.31, we see that in general, you don't get to use force at all in the state of Texas unless, except as provided in subsection B, A person is justified in using force against another when and to the degree the actor reasonably believes the force is immediately necessary to protect the actor against the other's use or attempted use of unlawful force.
That's interesting. So someone pushes you. Let's say someone pushes you one time. Yes, they put their hands on you. Does that mean you should be able to do whatever you want to them? Again, I say, if it was not a knife, but a 45 or a long sword or a crossbow or, a fistful of razor blade, a specialized razor blade glove that you can just punch people and slice them at the same time. Can you do that? Is that proportional?
Okay. So you do not get to use any force at all unless you are in immediate danger of having unlawful force being used against you.
And by the way, let's say that Anthony hadn't stabbed Austin, but wanted a battery charge against Austin. Austin shoved him, he walked away, and there was a battery charge. Would that have been legitimate? Now, in reality, it probably would not have been charged, but it would have been legitimate, because if he didn't use any kind of force return, certainly could have sued him for battery, I guess.
I remember that. I also want you to remember the very beginning of the statute right here, except as provided in subsection B. So again, going back to our three-part test on self-defense, if the force we use always has to be proportional, then what kind of force do you think we must be encountered with before we actually get to lawfully use lethal force? And make no doubt about it.
Lethal force. Now that's different. There's a distinction between force and lethal force. Remember that too.
Taking a knife and intentionally plunging it into the chest of another person is deadly force under any state's definition. A person is justified in using deadly force against another, one, if the actor would be justified in using force against the other.
So that's the first section of deadly force. You have to be justified in using force, period. And then deadly force has a higher standard.
Under section 9.31, and two, when and to the degree the actor reasonably believes the deadly force is immediately necessary. Okay, so before we go any further, understand that you don't get to use lethal force unless you are first justified in using some force in general, and then you only get to use lethal force if you are encountered with A, to protect the actor against the other's use or attempted use of unlawful deadly force.
Now, but not just to their person, because so you can take, well, it may not be the same law in New York, but Daniel Penny's case kind of has an application, or there's an application to this Daniel Penny's case too, but let's see.
Or B, to prevent the other's imminent commission of aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery.
So those are the two ways.
So when we look at the use of lethal force in general, we see that one, you have to be authorized to use some force to begin with. Number two, you have to reasonably believe that deadly force is about to be used against you, or you have this list of very serious felonies being used against you.
All very specific,
and
too. Specific and named reasons to use deadly force. Again, deadly force different than just force. Did Carmelo Anthony have a reasonable reason to use possibly force? Maybe. A push, is that going to require, the reasonable use of force? Maybe. But deadly force? And this is where kind of in that rant that Hotep Jesus had with Viva Frei, that kind of got left out. They were just talking about whether or not someone's allowed to use force if someone touches you. Well, certainly force, but deadly force under the law, that's what gets people thrown in jail.
You don't get to use lethal force in any state unless you are in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury.
That's important too. All these people hyping up a scenario where Carmelo Anthony feared for his life. Well, that's proven by his words and action that he didn't fear for his life. He encouraged someone to touch him. You know, if you encourage someone to touch you, you're certainly not in fear for your life.
And when you take a look at the felonies that are articulated in this section of the statute, you will notice that each and every one of those would absolutely place you in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. So if we take the evidence that was introduced at trial and we do so in a light most favorable to Mr. Anthony, at best he has the right to use some force to repel unlawful force by Mr. Metcalf in the shove. But let us remember.
So there you go. I mean, yeah, and I just said that. He had possibly the use of some force to repel the force that was being used on him. Avocado Ciable, had he punched him, none of this would have been an issue. Right, because there would be no deadly force and no one would be dead. In a lot of battery cases has to be witnessed by a cop outside of domestic battery. That, yeah, possibly, but let's say there was a cop at the bottom of the bleachers who saw Austin pushing Carmelo Anthony. Then, yeah, but yeah, you're probably right. It probably wouldn't have been a battery. So anyway.
Remember that the evidence that came out at trial was that it was a light shove to the shoulder. If that use of force by Mr. Metcalf was unlawful, then Mr. Anthony would be able to respond with some force. The problem is, at no point has Mr. Anthony been placed in imminent threat of having deadly force used against him or having any one of these felonies committed against him. And then you recall that you don't get to use any force if you are subject to this subsection B, which states, if the actor provoked the other's use or attempted use of unlawful force.
Touch me and see what happens. Well, you already had your hand on the knife.
Which in the state of Texas is called provocation. And if you are the one who provoked the attack, you now no longer get to use self-defense at all. So the two big hurdles for the Anthony defense team, which could not be overcome because it is the application of facts to the law, is one, proportionality. Because even if he has the ability to use some force, there is not one scintilla of evidence that was introduced on the record that would suggest that he was in imminent threat of having unlawful deadly force used against him.
Possibility of death or great bodily injury. No one testified to that. One guy pushing him doesn't mean he's in danger of death or serious bodily injury. Doesn't matter their size difference. There was no evidence that it had gotten that far. Now, had Austin pushed him, shoved him to the ground, started beating on him, other people started beating on him, which is the hypothetical scenario that Anthony Brian Logan came up with, or even Hotep Jesus said in that second clip, he would have had a reason to possibly pull out a knife and defend himself. But that's not a single witness testified to that on either the prosecution or the defense team. Nobody testified to that.
Therefore, his use of force is what? That's right, disproportional. And that, of course, is only if the jury found that he did not provoke the confrontation, which there is strong evidence to suggest that that is exactly what occurred. Now, for certain graduates of the University of Houston School of Law,
moron!
The nature of the weapon has, in many instances, nothing to do with whether or not deadly force was implemented. In fact, there are many items out there which are never designed to be deadly weapons that happen to serve as very effective ones. The baseball bat and the automobile both
or a hammer
come to mind. So what the jury was ultimately instructed under Texas Penal Code Chapter 19, Section 19.02, is that murder in the state of Texas is defined as a person commits an offense if the person, one, intentionally or knowingly causes the death of an individual.
And this is where Anthony Brian Logan got caught up immediately. I mean, his first interpretation of this only said intentionally, like as in premeditated. This is not about premeditation. Intentionally or knowing causes the death of an individual. That happened.
2, intends to cause serious bodily injury and commits an act clearly dangerous to human life that causes the death of an individual.
Stabbing someone in their chest fits that pretty tightly.
And so when lethal force is utilized, which is disproportional, that is a translation for done without lawful authority. And since it is unlawful lethal force, which resulted in the death of another human being, that is murder. Now, if you take a look at the exact same statute, Texas law will tell you that murder is normally a felony in the first degree. However,
now this is Texas law is a little different. Because they don't, I don't know, premeditated or not, if it matters in Texas, it's still murder. They don't treat them as separately, but they do have a second degree that has a little bit different criteria that he's going to tell you about here.
there is a mitigating factor which can be introduced prior to sentencing. It is found also in the same statute, and it would allow a jury to reduce this down to a felony in the second degree. That portion of the statute specifically states, at the punishment stage of a trial, the defendant may raise the issue as to whether he caused the death under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause.
You called me a nigger. Would they allow that? Some people might, some people might not, but that didn't happen here.
If the defendant proves the issue in the affirmative by preponderance of the evidence.
Only preponderance of the evidence is interesting. That's only after the conviction for murder. This is only in the sentencing phase. You can change it from first to second degree. The murder still happened, but you can change the degree under Texas law. Now, it's interesting because some states have, when they say first, second, third degree murder, some has to do with premeditation versus not premeditation, whatever. They're all still murder, but premeditated murder is worse than non-premeditated murder. Texas does not distinguish between those things. Murder is murder.
The offense is a felony of the second degree. And again, understand that the defense only needs to prove that by preponderance of evidence, significantly less than proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which the prosecution was required to prove in order to obtain the conviction. And yet, despite that lower threshold of proof, the jury did not find sudden passion in this case, which it was well within their discretion to make that ruling. And let's remember that while there may have been some evidence to suggest that, you got the youthfulness of everyone involved. You also have the fact that there was a very short period of time from when this confrontation began to when it ended and things such as that nature. So there were plausible arguments that the defense could make, but there...
Oh, yeah. I think he's going to make this point. I don't know that the defense team ever asked them to consider this, one. And two, the problem with doing this, then I think you're admitting to the murder after if you use this. I'm not sure if this is the point he makes, can't remember.
There were very plausible arguments that the prosecution could make, starting with, why did he bring the knife to the track meet to begin with? Or why was there this moment where he reached into his bag and held his hand there and almost dared Mr. Metcalf to do something? So there was good evidence against it, there was some evidence for it, and the jury made the call, which is exactly what the jury was supposed to do.
Okay.
And so that's how we arrive at a conviction for the first-degree felony of murder and a sentence of 35 years. Now, everyone's going to be asking about appeals.
Okay, I'm going to stop there because I didn't talk at all about appeals. But yeah, so my little voiceover commentary to Mr. Anthony Brian Logan on Thursday. Just pat myself on the back there. I got it right. I got it right just by reading the laws of the state of Texas and using the facts from the trial and not the internet facts of all the bullshit that the speculative and the hypothetical and all the other stuff. The hypothetical doesn't change the story of the actual event. So, all you people who are still talking about, well, they jumped him and there was a 300-pound man jumping, laying on a woman and beating her up, and then it would have been justified to use a knife. That's Jasmine Crockett shit's argument. Yeah, that don't fly because that isn't even part of the case. Doesn't have anything to do with it. There were not a bunch of people beating on him. There were not a bunch of people standing over him, intimidating him. And even if there was, the first shove, it would not be proportional to stab the young man, in that manner. So that today, folks, is it for today. Now, I appreciate y'all being here and staying this long and showing up in the afternoon because I'm not always streaming at this time. I'm just going as I can with the recovery here, and I can use that excuse for the entire time. But here are the links from today of all this stuff that I showed you. Please do me a favor, by the way. Do me a favor. I'm leaving the link to that video from, I can't even remember his name, the lawyer I just had. Please go into that, that video and like or share or do something with that, and let him know that I sent you over there. I really appreciate if you do that. And that's an important thing for me today because I'm going to let him know that I use this video. I don't want him to give me a copyright strike for just using it. In fact, I'm going to write him right now and say, hey, I use your video in my stream today. If you'd like me to mute it or whatever, I'd be happy to do that or whatever you want. Just or if you feel this is a serious copyright issue, I'll gladly take that part out of my stream and the replay. But yeah, go give that guy some kudos for that very, very thorough and good explanation of this what I just did there. I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Of that explanation of his show or of the case. Aha! I can't do anything. Anyway, thanks guys for being here. I gotta go. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll probably see you on Monday. My name is Dawg Knight, and I am out of here. Bye-bye. 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 Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the Dawg Knight Channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comments section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterward so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when they go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through the Streamlabs link, which is also in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.